The minutes.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, Michelle was here. Yay. Okay, any opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Report on council actions. Is it you or Mr. Haverfield? Okay,
Do the best I can here.
all right.
Okay, so we have actually a couple of meetings to report on. June 7th was the first one. And let me get to those. Give me just a second. All right, so appeal of planning commission denial of conditional use permit for multifamily housing in a community business zoning district for an 11.87 acre portion of a parcel address as 609 South Grays Lane. This is the Copper Depot development. Grays Lane and Amity. And that appeal was denied. So they upheld your decision there.
Okay.
And they expressed concerns about compatibility, not near services was a big thing, and safety concerns and traffic, your typical concerns about development. Next one is reconsideration of zoning map amendment from RS6.
Can you guys stay quiet so we can conduct the business part, please? Thank you.
So this is the zoning map amendment from RS6 to RMH, the 916 East Colorado. And this one was the one on the south end of the University, Colorado, and as it wraps up to Amity again. That was approved with conditions. They wanted a residential look, 2 parking stalls plus ADA per unit, only 2 stories, and yeah, that was pretty much it on that one. The next one was the zoning map amendment from RP to RS, single-family residential, RS6, excuse me, for the Lava Falls subdivision, addressed at 2718 East Locust Lane. And that one was continued to the 6/14/21 meeting. Sorry, it's been 2 meetings ago, so I have to recall what happened there. Christy, did that go? Oh, yes, okay, yes. Sorry about that. Yeah, so that went on the 14th, which was yesterday. A lot of the same people are here for that one or for tonight as they were for yesterday, so we're all a little tired. So yesterday, public hearings. The first one was a development agreement modification to modify the concept plan for the Sterling Commons subdivision, and that one was approved. And this one, but with changes. So they required a playground. They required that 25% of the occupants would be 55 plus years of age. Because it was a development agreement, they were able to do that. Normally, you wouldn't be able to attach that to a planning action, but because it's a contract between 2 parties, they were able to do that. The zoning, they kept the same, but they required that the density be reduced to 42 units instead of the 53 that had been originally requested. They suggested 2-story units, or they required only 2-story units, which was what they proposed. And they required that garages be pointed inward, not towards the roadway. a 25-foot buffer along Middleton and Lake Lowell, and they would have residential character roofs, and that there would be crosswalks at the intersection as required by, or as arranged with the engineering division. So that's that one. Annexation and zoning to RS4 for Sharps Orchard subdivision. And I was out in the hallway when this one was done, but it got approved with all conditions of staff, right? The next one was the annexation and zoning to RS6 for Sunnyvale West subdivision. And that one also got approved, but they included, the applicant offered an additional amount, was it 1 acre of open space, an additional 1 acre of open space on that one, and so that one did get approved. The next one was the Middlebury subdivision, and the applicant had requested that that be postponed or continued to August. They weren't able to make the meeting. And then the last one was rescinding the agreement attached to a property for Endurance Holdings. We talked about this earlier. This is off of just Middleton Road, 0 South Middleton Road. And this is that one that had the storage units that were attached to the development agreement, so they could go in and do storage units because of a development agreement. We started that process. The mayor directed us to go through that process of getting rid of that development agreement, but we had to zone it something when we rescinded the development agreement, and so it was annexed in, so there was no zone to go to, so we needed to select a zone that would be appropriate for the area. The property owner had requested RMH zoning, which was the higher density residential. Council was concerned about that because it was near single-family residences, detached residences, and so they expressed some concern, and so we withdrew that application altogether. That's the one that got continued to that meeting yesterday. So we withdrew it altogether, and we told the applicant or the property owner, you're going to need to come in with some drawings, with some actual plats to show exactly what you plan to do there. And they're drawing up a plan that would be consistent with the comprehensive plan and would address the concerns about density that the city council was concerned about. So those are all the public hearings for both of those. Any questions for me?
Thank you. Okay, we're past 7 o'clock. We're going to change the order up a little bit. Action item number 2 on the current agenda has been withdrawn. And so item number 3 is going to move to number 2, and item number 6 is going to move to number 3, and then everything else stays in order. Okay, conditional use permit for multifamily housing in the RP. Do we have the applicant?
Hi, my name is Blake Wolf. I live at 843 West Horizon Way here in Nampa. I'm here tonight for a CUP for a multifamily 16-plex in an RP zoning. The zoning does allow for duplexes, triplexes, and fourplexes, but currently you need a conditional use permit to do a structure bigger than a fourplex. This rule is soon going to be changed, so all multifamily products will be allowed in the RP zoning without a conditional use permit, but today, this is why I'm here. It hasn't been changed yet. I'm proposing a 1-building 16-plex behind the current dental office, which for the foreseeable future is going to remain a dental office. And just wrap around it with a a drive lane and parking and the structure on the back east and running north to south. Proposing a 16 units, all one-bedroom units, standard two-story height. It will butt up against a new subdivision that I believe is in the platting stage as we speak, coming in off Birch. This area is, at least this lot is a true representation of what residential professional could be, with some professional out front and residential behind. There's a daycare on the corner, strip mall on the corner of Birch and Plexus there, and then a lot of multifamily there between Birch and Karcher. If this were not approved, I will most likely just do is similar, but in a duplex, triplex, or fourplex, and try to get the similar amount of units there. So kind of a formality, hopefully, but that's my plan. Any questions?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Madam Chair and Commission, as the applicant has stated, this is a request for a conditional use permit for multifamily housing in an RP zone in the Cortland Place subdivision and addressed as 16548 North Franklin Boulevard for two-story apartments, building a two-story apartment building with 16 one-bedroom units in the Franklin 16-plex apartments. Just a little bit of history on this property. There was an annexation and zoning to RP in the residential professional zone in 2005 with the ordinance 2749. February of 2021, there was a pre-application meeting with planning and zoning staff to explore what was possible, including consideration of a record of survey lot split. The pre-application meeting was held in April 2021 with planning and zoning staff to confirm approach to not split the property and proposal to construct a 16-plex two-story building. CUP required and design review was required as well. And then April 2021, conditional use permit was submitted. And I believe the property has been split now. Is that, okay. Okay, great, just one parcel. So as the applicant has stated, that the front property there, you can see is a dental office. I guess you can't see that, but it is.
Okay.
To the surrounding zoning. So to the north is enclaved county ag land with large lot residential. To the south is a daycare. It's in the RP zoning district. And also to the east of that southern parcel there is a Canyon County parcel with single-family residential building and an automobile repair shop. And it's zoned neighborhood commercial in the county. To the east is Canyon County Ag, large lot, enclaved residential. And as the applicant has stated, it's proposed for annexation and zoning to RS4, which was just approved for Sharp's Orchard last night. To the west is Brant's Landing, single-family residential subdivision, RS6 zoning district. A little closer view of the zoning there. Apartments and multifamily developments are required to get a conditional use permit in the RP zone according to 1032, that's our land use table. And your typical conclusions of law that you need to follow in order to approve this conditional use permit if you so choose. And again, you'll just need to refer back to these if you want to deny this and state how it does not comply with these conditions of law, these conclusions of law, I should say. We've already seen this, this drawing. This is a site plan, a floor plan. As you can see, the one-bedroom apartments for each one of those. Correspondence. So building department made their traditional Title IV request that they follow Title IV. Nampa Engineering Division, all these conditions and statements are in your packet. I'd be happy to go over those if you would like, but I'm going to keep moving. Fire District, this development is located approximately 0.1 miles from Nampa Fire Station number 3, really close. Only 1 minute drive time to get there, and they anticipate 0.048 firefighter positions needed for this development. Similar, Nampa Police Department, low demand here. They anticipate a demand of 0.07 police officers and 0.02 support staff. So staff analysis. This location has a variety of land uses in the area. You can see that on the comprehensive plan, but in addition to that, there's a lot of county development in that area that's really mixed. Right? There's that auto repair shop and some other uses that are Canyon County uses that are both residential and commercial in that area. But the comprehensive plan does designate it as medium density residential. However, the existing zoning, which does not match that comprehensive plan, has been established before the latest update of the comprehensive plan. And so they are allowed to meet the conditions of the zoning that's in place right now. They don't necessarily have to look to the comprehensive plan for guidance for densities and that kind of thing. Safe routes to school. Birch Elementary is a little over a mile. Sage Valley Middle School is over almost 4 miles. Ridgeview High School is almost 3 miles, and none of these are within walking distance. Project specifics, really no amenities or significant open spaces are shown on the site plan. There appears to be sidewalk connectivity only along the frontage of the property. Maybe the applicant can clarify that a little bit, but it's relatively small development, so we haven't required that open space in the past especially for these smaller developments, but that is something that is up to you to put a condition on if you feel it's necessary. Conditions of approval are in your packet except for the last one here, number 6. I think I just missed this in the engineering division's statements. I didn't put it on it's actually in your packet, but it's not listed in the staff report, that section of conditions. So I just wanted to point that out. Developers shall eliminate the existing access and create a shared access on the northern end of the property. Maybe I'll just go back to the site plan real quick to show that. So the actual access to the dentist office, I believe is somewhere in here. So engineering division is suggesting that they combine that access into just one. So we're not adding another access. We're eliminating the existing access and providing the new one. And on the screen are some potential motions for your consideration, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for staff? Okay, we'll go to public hearing. Daniel, can you get me the sign-up sheet, pretty please? Oh, Parker's bringing it. Darn it. You're not gonna do a step then if you keep doing it. Okay, we only have the applicant on here, so good. All right, undecided. All right, we have 2 people signed up for undecided. Joanne Bowe. Would you like to testify, Joanne? No. Okay. And Beth, and I can't make out your last name. Mayberg. Would you like to testify, or? No, well, do I need to come up front? Yes, ma'am. Come up and you give us your name and address for the record.
I'm Beth Mamer. I'm just north of that, and I'm at 16584 North Franklin Boulevard. And I'm just I'm going to ask about the ditches, because we irrigate on a ditch that runs along that, and the fences. So that would be something that I would have questions about.
Okay.
Do you need to, the fences fences on the property line and all that stuff, so. Yeah, we can discuss it afterwards. Okay, sure, be great. So that would be the only question I would have, because I'm ag.
Right.
And then when people north of me are ag also, and so that would be my question.
Well, your water's safe. They have to make sure you maintain your irrigation, so that's not an issue. And then it sounds like he's going to address the fence with you.
Okay, all right,
Awesome.
that's it, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in attendance that would like to speak for, against, or undecided on this proposal? Okay, Blake, you want to come up here for a second and answer a couple questions? Sure. Okay, green space. These are all one bedrooms.
Yeah, the idea was that these would be occupied by one or two people and most likely not families unless it was maybe a single parent with a kid or two. But the idea was to provide just the one unit. It's kind of it should provide more of an affordable type of rent, which is what we need. Maybe even a retired couple. The idea just wasn't to have 2 or 3 bedrooms in there where we would need a bunch of open space to handle a bunch of kiddos and places to go.
And there's a
play.
park just across the street almost immediately.
There is, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Will there be any green space at all, like a strip of lawn or anything like that?
Yeah, so it's, I believe we're 20 feet on all 3 sides that will be in grass. And the back of the dental office will be landscaped. You can't even hardly see the dental office right now. The trees are humongous and canopy over everything, but it will be all lawn. That's part of what I'm gonna do.
Are those trees gonna stay?
No, if one of them fell, it would take out the dental office.
I say trees are leaving.
And they're fine with that one access point that the. item
Yeah,
number
we
6?
talked about that early on, is that was a likely possibility based on separation between access points.
Okay. Any other questions for Blake? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'd entertain a motion to close public hearing.
Second,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed. I think it's a good spot. What do you guys think?
I agree. Looks like a well-thought-out plan and provide some workforce housing for the businesses in the area, so if nobody else has any discussion, I'll go ahead and make a motion. Does anybody else want to say anything first? Okay.
Three,
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for multifamily housing in an RP zoning district for a 1.14 acre parcel in the Cortland Place subdivision at 16548 North Franklin Boulevard for new design architecture, Julia Miller representing Blake Wolf Building Company with all conditions of staff, and the added condition number 6 in the staff report.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the CUP. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. And you'll talk to her on the way out about the fence? Okay. Okay, the next item is a conditional use permit for a duplex in R6. Do we have Luke Stevens here?
Luke Stevens, live in Boise, 9290 West Halstead Drive. So, we're looking to mimic what the previous owners had applied for a cup when we purchased the property. They were going to go with a manufactured duplex. We would like to do a 2,600 square foot stick-built duplex. It looks like the owner separated their property into 2 plots. So we'll be going behind their house. With access off 7th Street is what we're planning. There is Hubbard Avenue on the backside, but per their previous cup, some of the owners there didn't like the idea of coming down Hubbard, so we sort of planning to stick on 7th. 3-bedroom, 2-bath. There'll be green space on the back for lawns, fencing separating everything. And there's agreement between us and the previous owner to build a fence between their property and ours, so.
Okay. We'll hear from staff and might have questions for you.
Hey, Madam Chair and Commissioners, this is the application before you. I thought I'd put this aerial view just to give you a sense of where it is. The far right side of here is that Garrity Boulevard, 11th Avenue, down here on the southern, or the bottom right-hand corner as well. And then Franklin Boulevard leading up to the freeway. And then if you come over here on 6th Avenue, or 6th Street North, and then 7th Avenue here, right in front of the property. Again, for a conditional use permit because it's in the RS6 zone. So some history, real quick. I think this is pretty clear what has been proposed for this property for a long time. 2007 conditional use permit for a duplex and split lot. The CUP expired without a duplex being built, and so they had to come back in 2018. And they requested a conditional use permit again for a duplex. The application was withdrawn. And then in April 2021, the conditional use permit application for a duplex was submitted. Property size is 0.22 acres, about 9,500 square feet. Existing use is, it's undeveloped property serving as a yard for a single-family home on the property just to the northwest. I think you can get a better view of that here. This property here is the property in front, and then this is just served as an extra space on that lot. The comprehensive plan future land use map is medium density residential. The surrounding zoning is single family residential RS6 zoning. And services, public utilities are available and have capacity to serve this property. Here's the zoning, all completely surrounded by RS6. Although it's fairly close proximity to some IL or light industrial zoning to the east. Closer view there. And there's the utilities. Not only available, but a couple of them right through the lot itself. So here's their site plan as they've proposed. And there's an aerial view for you. Same things apply as the last one. They were required to get a CUP in the RS6 zone. These are the conclusions of law that you must find if you want to approve this. Correspondence, building department, Title IV needs to be followed. I did want to point out number 2 there, code compliance. The property is not being maintained, and a case is open on tall grass and weeds. So I would suggest that perhaps that be a condition of approval. However, when development occurs, it's kind of taken care of as they go in and redevelop that property. So that's up to you. Engineering division did not oppose that. They have their conditions and their comments there and in your packet. Police department, Stevens Duplex is projected to add 5.88 new residents. Very low demand on police services because of just such a small development here. And then fire department, I just got this statement. I think he just missed it in our original request for a comment, and he really didn't have any concerns about it, and just pointed out the access is fine. Land use. There appears to be no duplexes or greater density residential in the immediate area, but a duplex does exist a short distance to the southeast on 6th Street North. And I can go back to that if you want, but again, medium density residential on the comprehensive plan. There's the designation that says duplexes are an appropriate fit for the medium density residential. Safe routes to school. Snake River Elementary is within walking distance, less than a mile. East Valley and Columbia High School, however, are long distances and are not within walking distance. Again, on this one, there's no real significant amenities or significant open space shown on the site plan. These are the conditions of approval that are in your packet. And here's a potential motion for you to consider.
Any questions for staff? Parker, do we have a sign-up sheet? Hey, Luke, you're on here as 4, which is good, that you're for your proposal. We like that. There's nobody else signed up to speak. Is there anybody present that would like to speak for, against, or undecided? Okay,
I do have a question for staff, probably.
okay.
So the code compliance issue with the weeds and stuff, and it's obvious that once they start development, that those are, that issue's gonna take care of itself. But do we ever, I don't remember ever putting a condition on a developer because we don't know how long it might be before they
Yeah.
start development. And I was gonna ask the applicant that if he knows how long you might be before you start development.
Can you come back up to the mic, Luke? Thanks.
As soon as possible. The weeds have already been taken care of. We hired a person a week and a half ago to come mow it down, and we'll be scheduled on a regular basis if it does take a while. So yeah, we're well
So the
aware.
mood is, the point is mooted on this issue then?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep, we want to keep the neighbors happy, so.
all right. Good choice.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you, Luke.
Make a motion to approve, close the public hearing.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we approve this conditional use permit for a duplex in RS6 zoning district at 07th Avenue North for Luke Stevens, representing Sherry and Bruce Stevens, with all conditions of staff.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All righty, now we're going to conditional use permit for a machine shop in a BC district.
Good evening. My name is Dan Fiorello. I'm the president of Altanova Manufacturing. This is my first time before a planning commission, so I'd like to thank you for the opportunity. I didn't realize so many people were going to come to see me.
Yeah. Can you give us your address, please?
Yes, 97 South Iceberg Lake Avenue in Meridian.
Thank you.
I'm here today to request a conditional use permit for our company. The request is for the building at 530 North Broadmoor Way. We started the company in 1995 and are now in our 26th year of business. We intend to relocate our entire operation to Nampa and are excited for the opportunities this would create, both for us and for Nampa. We're a manufacturing company that uses CNC machining to create mechanical parts for a wide range of industries. Altanova Manufacturing currently provides parts to a customer base that includes semiconductor test solutions, military, firearms components, aerospace, and other industries. Thanks for allowing me to share a little bit. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Otherwise, I think I'll let Christy Watkins get into the details.
All right, we'll hear from Chrissy. Thank you, Dan.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. This action requested from you tonight is approval or denial of the conditional use permit for a machine shop in a BC zone at 530 North Broadmoor Way. The property is located in an area that is zoned both BC and IL. The building itself is mostly contained in the BC zone. There are both commercial and industrial uses surrounding it, including manufacturing uses, warehouses, a church, and a charter school, just to name a few. There's many more than that. The property is currently being served by public utilities and emergency services. There's an existing shell building and the overall property is currently in the process of being subdivided. So as usual, the conditional use permit has a set of criteria in Chapter 25 that you will be required to find whether you approve or deny this project. In the staff report, there is a typo. In the text of those items, it says multifamily, but it should say machine shop. So if you have to refer back to any of that, please replace that with machine shop. Under correspondence, we only received one bit of correspondence from the building department with their standard Title IV building regulations, just indicating that when they build out the new tenant space, that it needs to meet city code. So the zoning does match the comprehensive plan. It's designated commercial and industrial in that area, matches the zoning lines perfectly. It has been stated in the comprehensive plan that it is within the public interest that to allow more industrial businesses while also trying to preserve the commercial nature of certain areas of town. And there is currently a shortage of industrial properties within Nampa, so this would meet that need. Generally, a machine shop uses can create an abundance of sound pollution and be visually unappealing. Being that it is near a church and a school, you may want to add more conditions to help prevent such issues, but it seems like the applicant has indicated that this may not be a problem. So should the commission vote to approve the requested conditional use, staff would then recommend the approval with the conditions of approval as listed in your staff report and any others that you wish to impose this evening. These are your potential motions, and again, I just want to make note that if you read out of your staff report to replace the multifamily with the machine shop. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'll stand for questions.
Any questions for Christie? Okay, let's go to public hearing. Parker, do we have anybody signed up for that? No. Anybody present want to testify on this?
Motion to close.
Do we want to have the applicant talk about the sound, the noise?
We can?
You want to
Dan, can you come back up?
just,
Yeah, we don't do anything that has any loud sounds, no impact, such as like a sheet metal shop or whatnot would typically have more pounding and whatnot. We're cutting and we actually do mostly smaller parts. You wouldn't actually hear it outside of the building, plus we're adding additional insulation throughout the building. So,
Any other questions for him? Okay.
thank you.
I'll move to close again.
second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to close public hearing. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we move to approve the conditional use permit for a machine shop in a BC zone district at 530 Broadmoor Way, also described as Lot 10 in the recently approved Broadmoor Business Park, located for Altanova Daniel Fiorello, representing AG Equity LLC, with all conditions of staff and conclusions of law.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the CUP. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's approved. Thank you. All righty. Going on to number 4. I just kind of want to go over a couple things. We got a lot of people in here again. The applicant will go, staff will go, and then we'll open up public hearing. You will have 3 minutes to testify. I have my handy dandy little sign. I will give you the 30-second warning, and when time is up, you're done. So if you agree with the person in front of you, we don't need to hear the same thing 40 times. If we can, you can just say, I agree with so-and-so, and you're on the record. Or on the sign-up sheet, you're down as for or against. So you are on the public record by just signing that sheet. But everybody has a chance to testify, and we're going to keep it to the 3 minutes and be pretty strict about that so that we can not be here too super late. So do we have the applicant for Stevens Place?
And I brought my water just in case.
Okay.
So I'm Dana Kaufman with Insight Architects. I'm here representing the development. And my office is 2238 Broadway Avenue, Boise, Idaho, 83706. Gosh, I haven't been there so long, I forgot the address. So thank you for the opportunity, Madam Chairman and Commissioners, for presenting our vision of Stevens Place. This project has been in the works for quite some time. We've discussed many options with myself and the clients. The client who has owned this property for a number of years has, it was currently or previously zoned BC, and we would like to change that. But he's had several opportunities to develop this, and none of them kind of fit his bill for what he wanted to see here. He had storage units that people wanted to build there and whatnot, and he just didn't see that as something that he wanted to. So getting no developments that kind of fit his bill, he teamed up with a partner, Gerald Martins, and together they came up with this concept to develop these townhomes. And we took the time, had a meeting with the neighbors. We had a neighborhood meeting. It was very lively and constructive. And as a result, we did modify, and I'm glad Christy got the plan up there, super. We did modify our development. Originally, we had proposed 36 individual units. We have since eliminated 2 of those units in the center of the development. And as a result of some of the comments that we got for our neighborhood meeting for some additional green space. So we did create that in the center of the complex. And we envision this as individually owned homes. They are 0 lot line, so that they are individual lots. And the streets are a private street. So as a result of that, we have a homeowners association with CEP, or with the conditional covenants, I guess I should say. And in those, it's our vision to see that this is the homeowners association takes care of all the maintenance of the entire property. So the individual homeowners will not be responsible to take care of their lawns. So that is one of the things that's part of the association that will be in the bylaws. They will take care of all that. Everything's, we have utilities located on site. Everything will be run through the development. We did include a walking path, the connection from the existing subdivision to Middleton. Through our development. We did maintain a portion of the acreage as a commercial development on the corner. We have no people in mind for that. We have no businesses, nothing in mind for that particular corner. We do see it as a professional type opportunity, but it's not big enough for a drive-through or a big restaurant or anything like that. So we do, and part of that will restrict that is the secondary fire department access that is being proposed there. So that will definitely restrict the size of the commercial development that could go in there. So we are well aware of that. I will stand for any questions. I do have an engineer here that is willing to stand up in front of you, and if you have any questions in the technical nature. So if, I think I'm done. So if there are any questions, I'll answer those.
Is that red line the walking path you were talking about?
It is, yeah, well, it's orange.
Oh, well, these things are so thick.
Maybe
they
that's,
just-
yeah, yes, it is. And you can see there is a secondary path that goes through a gazebo that we are planning as an amenity in that green space.
Do you have floor plans for these buildings yet? Do you know?
We,
For instance, along the western boundary, what's the height of those buildings?
so right now, we are envisioning somewhere between 1,800 to 1,900 square feet, and there will be a two-story component, but our plan, our vision to do this is to have a single-story component on the backside of it, and the two-story will be along the street where the garage, above the garage. So the rear of the units will be a single-story unit. So I'm assuming a 9-foot plate height, something like that.
Windows on the two-story volume, anything on the west side?
The windows on those sides, the current layout that we're looking at does not have any bedroom windows. I mean, they do have some high windows just because of the roof lines, and those are into a little office space up above, so there would be no direct vision from a second floor to look into the backyard of neighbors or even next door neighbor. So no, so they're all facing other directions.
And every unit will have a garage, even the
Every-
single story?
Correct. Every unit has has a two-car garage, and there's two-car spaces in front, so you can park in the driveway in front. So each unit would have a total of 4 parking spaces. And we do have a number of parking spaces that are designated throughout the development as visitor parking. I think there's 29 spaces that we've identified.
Where are those?
So you can see them, do I
On the
have a
commercial
pointer from
lot.
Christie Point? Yeah, so there's there's a certain number of parking spaces right there. And then we've also to there, yes, Chris, there's perfect there. And we've had them kind of scattered throughout the development in between the parking or the driveways. So there are individual, sometimes they're single, sometimes they're double, visitor parking.
We may have more questions for you at the end.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, Christie.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The request before you tonight is a rezone of the property located at 0 Iowa Avenue from BC to RD and a preliminary plat approval for Stevens Place subdivision. Just for informational purposes, I want to describe what a townhome is. A townhome is an attached unit, either in a 2, 3, or through 3, 4 or more attached units that are divided on a common wall by a property line, making each unit available to be owned and occupied like any other single-family home. In this case, these are 2 units that are attached to each other and then sold individually. So the zoning surrounding it is RS 8.5 on the north, south, and west, Carriage Hill North, Carriage Hill, some Canyon County residences, and then to the east, which is BC, and it is currently vacant. The history on this property, it was annexed and zoned to RA in July of 2002. In July of 2004, it was a portion of it was rezoned from RS6 to BC, with ordinance 3357 that did contain a DA that pertains to a separate portion that is now Carriage Hill North. The DA itself does not apply to the BC portion other than to outline certain allowed uses. The DA states that approximately 4.6 acres are zoned BC and shall be restricted from the following permitted uses: mobile homes, manufactured homes, and RV sales, automobile or truck sales, new automobile or truck sales, and used automobile or truck sales, bars, nightclubs or cocktail lounges, taverns, manufactured and mobile home parks. So none of those fit into what they're requesting tonight. City utilities are available, and they will be required to construct utilities to and through the property following the city's master plan. So these are the applicable regulations when considering a rezone. The RD zoning states that 2-family residential district is intended to protect a quiet residential area now developed or that is developing, while at the same time allowing a limited increase in population density by permitting 2, 3, or 4 attached dwelling units on a minimum-sized lot. The maintenance of a desirable living environment is provided by means of the standards and requirements establishing a minimum lot area, yard, and possible open space. A related consideration is to make it possible to more efficiently and economically design and install public service facilities in terms of size and capacity adequately to meet the needs resulting from a defined intensity of this land use. So the correspondence that was received, we received some public input, which you did receive in your staff report, and then you've also received some emails in the last couple of days, the ones that didn't make it into the staff report. We got comments back from the city forester to replace the ash trees on their landscape plan, from the building department with standard Title IV regulations, from the police department that noted that this would increase a demand for officers by 0.16 and support staff by 0.05. The closest police department is 4 miles away, and they did state that in this district, although I don't know what that district boundary is, that the calls that they have annually in this area are 158. If the fire department comments stated that the nearest station is 2.3 miles away with a 6-minute response time and would possibly increase personnel by 0.108 firefighters. And then engineering had their standard code requirements that you can find in a memo in your staff report. So the future land use designation here is commercial, but this development is adjacent to medium-density residential, and so does plan to stretch that designation onto the area that they're requesting for rezoning to RD. The RD zoning district allows for the single-family, zero-lot line residential development. The density proposed for Stevens Place is a gross density of 5.76 and a net density of 10 dwelling units per acre. Medium density requires that it be 2.51 to 8 dwelling units per gross acre. So with the 5.76, they do meet that requirement. The schools for this development include Nampa High School, which is 2 miles away, Lone Star Middle School, which is 1 mile away, and Owyhee Elementary, which is 827 feet away. So for the zoning, this map is kind of hard to make out the colors, but the RD zoning portion is the green, which is the larger section, and then the BC that will remain is the blue, which is the section on the southeast corner. The general purposes of zoning are to promote orderly, systematic development and patterns thereof that preserve and enhance public health, safety, and welfare. Staff notes that any site development will be regulated through the building permit review process and in accordance with the RD and BC zoning chapters, and will be required to go through the design review process. This project proposes to rezone 5.35 acres to BC, or from BC to RD, leaving 0.91 acres as BC. So this project is being proposed in an RD zone, therefore, each base lot has to be 7,000 square feet. The smallest standard buildable lot that they have proposed is 7,395 square feet. So all lots qualify to be divided into that 2-unit configuration for those townhomes. All master lots demonstrate the required lot width for the zone. 40 feet of right-of-way from the section line along West Iowa Avenue will be required to be dedicated to the city. As stated previously, the city arborist has requested a revised landscape plan to remove the ash tree. The applicant described the open space by stating that this development has several open spaces spread through the development, along with allowing for the continuation of an existing pedestrian walkway beginning at the existing path on the west side and developed through and ending at South Middleton Road. So should the commission choose to recommend approval to City Council tonight, staff recommends that they approve with the conditions listed in the staff report and any others that you see fit to impose this evening. This is your potential motion for the rezone and your potential motion for the preliminary plat. I will stand for any questions.
Christie, on page 95 and in one of the slides that you had, across Iowa to the south, adjacent to Middleton Road, it shows a park. And my best recollection, there's no park there now. Is that something for the future, or is that something?
No, that's the comprehensive plan. And usually when there is a park designation in the comprehensive plan, that's kind of a mobile designation. So if the city chose to put a park in that area, that kind of gives them some guidance as to where to look.
But until the person sells the land, there's no park.
So far, no.
And also, just as a matter of interest, I guess, we have a letter from the Nampa School District saying that there is no concerns about capacity at any of the following schools, Hawaii Elementary, Lone Star Middle School, or Nampa High School. And people commented about that, but again, the school district is saying, no, we don't have a problem. So.
Correct.
Would we tell the people that if they're concerned about schools, they should contact the schools and not us?
That would be an option. I mean, they've stated it, so that would be the
Yeah,
person I
you know,
would go
they-
talk to.
There's nothing we can do about them not having capacity in their school. We can't make them build another school. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Christie? Okay, Parker, you got some sign-up sheets for me? Okay. All right. Okay, we start with the people for. So the first name on my sheet is Gerald Martins. Pat Coldwell. Okay. All right, that was that. Okay, now we've got a bunch of people that have said they don't want to speak, so I'm just going to read your names for the public record. Nancy Taff, Bob Montgomery. And if you guys change your mind and I say your name and you feel like you want to speak, just, raise your hand, holler, something.
Don't throw anything. though.
Yeah. Marlene Montgomery. Okay, and to speak, we have Robin Grant. And just remember to give your name and address for the record, and I'll start my timer when you get done with your address.
She's coming up here, Madam Chair. Can I just remind everyone to when you guys are mumbling and talking to each other, we can really, in these caves up here, we can really hear that. And it's hard sometimes for us to hear who's at the podium and for the notes and the recording also.
Okay, Robin.
Thank you, Commissioners, for letting me speak tonight. My name is Robin Grant. I live at 12709 South Transport Way in the Carriage Hill subdivision of Nampa. And I had a great notes set here I was just going to read out loud, but I'm going to have to go off notes a little because of the changes that were presented by the developers. So you're going to hear lots of testimony behind me about traffic and density and the resale of our homes, and I agree with all of what's probably going to be said. We've been talking about it. We attended the meetings with the developers to hear their plan. I like their changes. That's helpful. I do think that I have a few other suggestions for solutions that I'd like to present. First of all, my first suggestion would be that you would consider leaving it commercial. We have a lack of that in our area, and that would be my first suggestion. If you're not willing to do that, if the council sees fit to go forward with some kind of a housing plan, then my first suggestion specific to Stevens Place would be the city walking path that is shown through the center opens up into a very nice amenity that we have in our development at Carriage Hill, and having that open there specifically would create some issues for us with us paying for amenities that are being used by another development. We love the walking paths, so we don't want to get rid of that, but my suggestion would be to take the walking path down behind the development, in between the two developments, and come out onto Iowa. That way it continues the path, and people can go down onto Middleton, but it does not leave an open area for everybody to bring their dogs to potty. And that'll probably be a big one tonight. Was one of our big concerns. My second suggestion had been to talk about the amenities. We have some nice amenities, and our concern is that building something with no amenities would then make ours more desirable for people to use. But they sound like they have added a couple of things. That's great. I think they need a playground for their kids. I think that a pool would be nice for their kids. We have both of those amenities, and our impact is already huge with what we have going there, so adding more people would be difficult, especially since we're paying for them. My last suggestion actually has to do with the fact that we're becoming surrounded by projects of condos. In our little corner, Iowa, Lake Lowell, Middleton, we have about 4 of them that are being proposed. The traffic is a huge concern for everybody, and my suggestion would be that you ask all of the developers that you approve to build homes in there that would have an impact on our infrastructure, that you would ask them to incur the cost for the infrastructure, the streets, the streetlights, etc.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, no, I can't have you guys doing that. We're recording this, and, you guys are just going to have to cheer silently. Pretend. Okay, we have also, again, Steve Grant, and you indicated you don't wish to speak. Okay, Gary Bonner and Linda Bonner don't wish to speak, or do? Okay. Gail Newcomb and Greg Newcomb, and also Inger Bishop. Steve Sarton, Pamela Cunningham, Creighton Lau, didn't indicate one way or the other if wanted to speak. Okay. Ken.
Madam Chair.
Yes. Yes, you have to come up and give us your name and address for the record.
Name and address. Name is Creighton Lau. Address is 11301 W or West Timken Way. My question is, you're adding these different developments. I understand we have a great need for that as people are moving in, but is there a comprehensive plan when you're adding 0.1 police officer here, 0.5 police officers here, to see the overall impact to the infrastructure?
Christine?
Would you like me to answer that?
Yes, please.
We do have a capital improvement plan that outlines a level of service that it's like 1.5 officers for every 1,000 in population. We do currently have a shortfall.
A shortfall of officers
Yes.
and firemen?
Yes,
So when you're adding these 0.1, 0.5, you're creating a greater shortfall?
yes, potentially.
Okay. And as the young woman asked or suggested previously, is there a comprehensive plan for developers to looking at the infrastructure and support for that?
Yes, there is a public works master plan for infrastructure, for transportation, and for sewer and water. And all of these have been reviewed for this project,
Okay, all right,
And police and fire.
and police and fire.
okay.
And each development pays impact fees to be used for the capital improvement plan. So when the developer develops a project, before they pull building permits, they have to pay the city an impact fee for all those services that'll be used to implement the capital.
That's an impact fee to understand the impact, or is that?
Oh, that's fees to go toward spending on the budget, on the capital budget.
So increasing the sewer lines, et cetera.
Yeah, or adding officers or services or
Okay.
fire trucks or whatever.
Okay. My only other comment would be that we are very short in our area of more business community, business usage. So we have to go quite a ways to access other business communities, which would really benefit the neighborhood.
Then we have Ken. I can't tell if this says. Yes, that's it.
Sorry, my writing isn't so good anymore. Hi, my name is Ken Jenks. I live at 11175 West Carriage Hill Court, and I do oppose this development, although I do appreciate from the developer's standpoint the efforts made to address some of the concerns. I have approximately 30, I'm a retired master planner. I have about 30 years experience in this field. Some of the things that I would do to the project, if it were to go forward, on the first units 1 through 6, I would increase the setback to at least 30, 40 feet to allow for that our path to connect out to Iowa and not go through the development. We don't want to encourage people walking into our development because we pay our own HOA fees for the maintenance of that. I think I don't know if there was a traffic study done for this development in terms of what the level of service impact is.
No, this one does not meet the threshold to require a traffic
doesn't?
impact study.
Well,
Okay, I need you guys to maintain decorum, please.
2 people per household, that's quite a lot of cars coming off, right onto that intersection. If you've been on Iowa and at rush hour and Middleton, it's very, very busy. So I think it's going to greatly decrease the level of service within that intersection, which promotes the opportunity for safety concerns with children crossing the street to go to school. So basically, I'm opposed to the development, and I think it belongs more in a higher density area of the town. Keep it single family. I mean, 7,000 square foot lots for each 2 homes, we're talking half that. We could have single family homes in there. I think that would be a better option. Thank you.
Then we have Jaron Haste? Jeremy Hasty, okay, is against. David, and I don't know how to, I can't read. Oh, goodness. We should make people print.
Yeah. Just put their mugshot on there or something.
My name is David Hayden. My address is 12880 South Orinco Way. I live in North Carriage Hill. I agree with the lady that was up here earlier about the traffic concerns. I went to the original meeting. I like the fact that they did actually provide a little bit more green space. I agree with my friend and neighbor Ken about moving the line back. I like the fact that we have all these paths here in town, but we have a pretty nice neighborhood. It's not quite as nice as the one on the golf course. You go over there, they have signs all over the place. They don't want you using their path. There's signs because they have nicer amenities and they pay for those things. I also agree that if this is allowed to go through, that they probably ought to have a play space or something like that for the occupants on there. When I moved out there and agreed to have a house built, one of the things I liked about there was all the houses out there had pretty good sized lots. Subdivisions had nice places to play for the kids. And it seems like now they just want to stack units in there like cordwood. I mean, we're talking about one proposal here, but I understand there's 6 of them coming up in the immediate area. And we're not talking about 24 units. You start totaling them up, it's pretty close to 200. And when I moved out there 2 years ago, I could get home from work in about 10 minutes. Now sometimes it takes me 40. So I know that you guys are having the developments where, you know, they put a little more road space, but it's all piecemeal. If the money was provided from the developers to finish widening that road all the way down and fix the intersections, traffic wouldn't be a problem. But we just keep piling more people in without fixing the roads and intersection to get people out there. Now, the gentleman earlier asked about putting forth money for
Impact.
services, for impact fees. Why, if the developments are paying for this, why do we have a shortage? Can we not hire these people? Or has not enough money been allocated to do that in the first place? The place is growing like crazy around here. We got all this coming in, we have all this new tax revenue, and we're still short of services. Why is that?
We can ask Daniel that when we get ready.
What's being done with the money that's supposedly been put in from the developers? One of the things, I came from a different state, and when you build a place, you have to pay your taxes up front. Here you gotta wait a year. So now we're a year behind on all this future development. If that one thing was changed, where when your house is done, you pay your taxes, you don't get that break for the first year, how much more money would the city have to take care of this kind of stuff?
Thank you. I can read the last name of Parker, but I cannot read the first name. Okay. Allison.
Hello.
All right. Nice handwriting, though.
I
just
tried.
can't pronounce it.
Okay, it's Allison Valello. I live at 11349 West Timken, and I'm totally against this. And I just want to say that I am totally upset with this, as we all are, and you can hear it in my voice. I want to talk about the traffic real quick. We all know how the traffic is totally, totally crazy. I think it's going to be a total disaster if they put that entrance to, and if you pass it, coming in from Iowa, it's going to be a disaster for the residents, for going in and out, plus the already existing traffic going on Iowa. I don't know if any of you have been over there lately or live near us or anything. The traffic is just horrid there. So I know we won't get into the traffic, but traffic is absolutely horrible and it's not getting any worse. Okay, also, there are no crosswalks. People keep saying about, okay, the kid's going to Hawaii. I'm retired, there's no crosswalks. I understand the developer's going to be putting some crosswalks in and stuff. I hope so, but the kids cannot cross there. There's what may be going to be a potential roundabout there at Iowa and Middleton, way down the line, 3 to 5 years, maybe. But the kids can't cross, and the roundabout will make it even worse. So it's just a no-win situation for everybody. Okay, Stevenson's Place, it will be backing up to Carriage Hill North. Oh, I live there. The green space and common area that we pay for at Carriage Hill North with our HOAs are going up. I don't feel that we need to be paying for something that someone else is going to use. If you pass it, is there going to be a fence around to prevent them from going over into our area? And we have a green space very, very close to them. I'm concerned with their, like we've already said, their dog, their people walking. Yes, the developer, and thank you, you went and increased the walking paths. It doesn't look very big. It also looks like it's going to connect to us. And we pay for our walking paths, our pool, all of our amenities, and we're retired. Everybody, there's what, half and half retired people? We pay for that. So please, I hope they put a fence around if you do run it
We'll
through.
find out.
Okay, and also I want to know how large their green space, if they have green spaces, how large is it? Okay, also one more thing. I have concerns about their guest parking. How many do they have? Do they have enough? I feel this is going to cause so many problems if you do pass it.
I'm concerned with the homeowners eventually turning their units into rentals down the line, and that will be a catastrophe for all of us. And I feel, again, townhouses are not here for what, in that property. We need individual housing. Thank you.
Leslie and John Harrier. Sharon Skinner. Okay, Marilyn, and I cannot, Celise. Robin Squires. Amy Omer. Lene Moore, John Moore. People that live on Landau that I can't. Okay, and
She wants to speak.
you want to speak? Okay.
I'm Rose Sanchez Perdón. I live at 12425 Landau Way in the original section of Carriage Hill. And some of the concerns that I had, which were the bigger concerns, have been addressed.
Can you pull the microphone down so we can hear you? Thank you.
Some of the concerns have been addressed by the previous members opposing it.
Mhm.
And two of the things that they didn't mention was, one, already, they did mention that it was congested already. There is really no parking. That's a very busy road off of Middleton in Iowa. So that was one of the big concerns that they did mention a couple of times. The other two that they did mention, one of them was the minimum requirements. Normally, it's been 2,200, and that's what most people on Iowa between Middleton and Midway have been paid for, you know, the 2,200 square feet requirement. The HNOs, you know, to keep that area looking very nice and keep everything up in order to keep our, you know, home values. The other concern I had was we have paid, and it's been very stringent in that, again, in that street, about the outside facial. We have a lot of stringent requirements, and I know that, you know, the developer has quite a few plans on making it a little more custom, but I don't believe that it's nearly what we've all in that street and that those areas had to pay for. So I really believe that, one, I can't imagine, you know, 36 or 34 complexes in there or units in there. Second, the square footage, it's under what we've all been required to have. And third, you know, the requirements for the outside look and the facial.
Okay.
So those are the two main things that I haven't heard and I've been very concerned with.
So your square footage requirements are part of your HOA with your subdivision. It has nothing to do with the
It has
zoning.
nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
However, it makes a big difference and, you know, it hurts our value to start adding anything less than that. And again, with the facial and the stringent.
30 seconds.
Very good. Thank you for considering that.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Sally Mercer didn't wish to speak, or you do wish to speak? Okay.
My name is Sally Mercer. My address is 11159 West Victoria Drive. We live across the street from the green space. We live in a quiet neighborhood. Everybody in the neighborhood seems to get along. There's not a lot of traffic yet in our area. However, we can see that a path is not going to keep them out of our park. The street, Victoria, goes straight up past our house, straight down Stanhope. It's just a nightmare thinking of what's going to happen to our neighborhood. We've already had some problems with damage to our pool. There's nothing stopping anyone from walking up with someone else that belongs in the neighborhood and going into our pool. All they have to do is hold the gate open for whoever is going in there. It's a nice neighborhood. Please don't destroy it by allowing this project to go ahead. Thank you.
Christina Whitworth? Did I? Okay. Carol Fridelli? Marianne Ramsey? Colleen Baker? You said maybe you want to speak, Colleen? Do you want to speak now?
Hi, I'm Colleen Baker, and I live at 172 North Benoit Place, which is off of Davis and Midland. And I want to address the traffic, because everybody coming from south has to get downtown somehow. I live off of Benoit and Davis, like I said, and Midland, and I can't cross most of the time. I can't make a left to go down Midland from Davis because I almost get killed. There's so much traffic, and they are speeding. I can't make a left into Davis from Midland for the same reasons. I also live 1 block from Midland, and I can't get out of my street half the time. So what are you going to do with all these cars that you're adding on and adding on? If they're not coming this way, they're going out this way. And every way you go, all of our streets are crowded. We have kids that almost get hit all the time because they can't walk along the sidewalks because we have people who don't know how to drive on a straight line and miss the people. Or the cars like we just had yesterday with the motorcycle. There's something going on, too much traffic and not enough forethought to where people should, how many people we should have in these areas. And all the 3-story buildings that are going up, the housing, what are you going to do with them all? The schools, the traffic, the people. Where are they going to shop? Our stores are so crowded right now as it is. Where do they go if we don't put up some commercial development? A grocery store would be nice. Maybe not at that corner, but somewhere in there we have to have some more amenities. That's my thinking on it, and that's all I wanted to say was get some traffic taken care of here, because it's horrible. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Neil Squires?
Madam Chair, Commission, thank you for hearing us. My name is Neil Squires. I live at 12318 Carriage Hill. I am opposed to the proposed zoning map amendment. Let me tell you why. Couple thoughts here. This project located at Middleton and Iowa is a 4-way stop. If you think just north of there, there's another 4-way stop. And then further north at Orchard in Middleton, you've got a very difficult 4-way stop. I won't cite all the numbers from Compass, you can look them up, but substantial traffic and wait times await you every time. And I know there's been a standstill trying to get that 4-way stop figured out with the right-of-way with that property owner, but you're going to have a north-south corridor that's already has quite a bit of burden and just these 3 4-way stops. I want to reference the NAMPA 2040 Comprehensive Plan. Section 3.1.1, quote, mixed-use residential, which allows for a mix of housing types and neighborhood-scale business to co-locate, has been specified in strategic locations to conserve agriculture and reduce drive times. NAMPA should seek to plan development patterns that are supported by infrastructure, reduces drive times to commercial services, and conserves agricultural land and open space. I don't see how this project does that. One more thing from the comprehensive plan that I think is well written, and thank you for putting it together. Dense housing, quote, must have features that blend it into the fabric of the community. I don't see how this blends into the fabric of the surrounding communities in any way. The streets must provide adequate capacity to handle the increased use, and there should be walking and biking access pathways and commercial areas. Again, this is not a location that is conducive to walking to a city or urban center. There are no nearby large amenities or marketplace. What's the word I think you use in your comprehensive plan? Things like amphitheaters, town squares, larger parks, that you want to put these compact or smarter growth clusters. That's not this place. This needs to be closer to an urban center. A better idea, I mean, these intersections are 45 miles an hour on Middleton. Most cars go 50. You're not going to want kids going to an elementary or middle school walking on that road. Also, these access points are way too close to that intersection. I think it would be, thank you. I think it would be wise to look at trying to build into the existing roads that are part of Carriage Hill North and just do single family. Just cut that off and use those other Access Victoria or whatever, versus trying to squeeze this in. It's just much too close to that. Very dangerous. My wife just the other day tried to make the turn out of Iowa, and that's a downhill with trees, and she was nearly hit. That's just going to increase trying to fight the traffic coming out of there. Again, this should be moved to closer to an urban center to fit your plan. Thank you.
Okay, Paul McLaughlin.
Thank you for pronouncing my last name correct.
Yay! One right.
My name is Paul McLaughlin. I live at 12574 South Carriage Hill Way. And I was not planning on coming up here. I agree with everything that everybody else has said. Nampa Police Department currently has a staffing shortfall. It's already been stated, but here's some statistics. Based on 1.5 officers needed per 1,000 residents, Nampa Police currently is understaffed by 23.5 officers. Currently, Nampa has 134 and need 157.5. This is based on a current population estimate of 105,000. Current population is rising. Also, I do appreciate that they added more grass to the area. I think that whole middle section, if this does get approved, that entire middle section should be grassy area with a playground, which would leave them 28 units. And we would need to ask them, is that sufficient? Is that profitable for them if they lose 6 more units? The other development up north or east that had 50 units and the city said they came back and said 42 units. From what I understand, the developer said no, that wouldn't be profitable for them. Obviously parking is an issue, and if you look at that picture, just to the top of that picture, there's the street, Victoria Street. Nobody ever parks on that street. My concern is that that would become a parking spot for extra cars in this area if there isn't enough parking. I feel like the streets, Iowa and Middleton, need more lanes for all the traffic that is in the area. Is the city planning on widening those streets? And like other people have stated, we have had some incidents of crime in our area, at our pool. And my concern is that crime would go up. I think that's obvious. We know that. With highly densely populated areas, you have more crime. And there is concern at the school for special needs children, that there's not enough staffing at a Waihe school for special needs children, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Brooke Taylor and Ryan Grandal, I have you as against. Maria Lyman, you wish to speak?
Hi, I'm Maria Lyman, 12967 South Aranco Way in Carriage Hill. I'm totally opposed. I live off of Lake Lowell and off of Iowa. The speeding is insane. Okay, I'm surprised that somebody hasn't gotten killed yet. The traffic on those corners are crazy. Again, I agree with all these guys. The pool, they're already trashing the pool. They're even trashing the brand new one in the new houses. It's just absolutely appalling that they're gonna build all these houses or condos. I'm so upset. I came from a condo, a really nice one. The first 10 years were really nice, and then people came in and bought them and rented them. And that's what destroyed the neighborhood. It's just ridiculous that they're doing that. Again, we need shopping. They're not filling in the Garrity the Garrity shopping mall by Penny's, where other people can go there. Everything's closed. We have to go to one section to shop. It's nuts. The traffic is just nuts. Please don't do this to us. We have a really nice neighborhood, really great people in there. Again, they're destroying things already. I got poop scooping things for the dogs. They're breaking those already. So please think about it. We don't need that. And we need more police and more firemen and more schools and all that stuff. You have to think about that. Thank you.
Dana Miller, you're on here as no. Okay. Brooke Schiller Atkinson. Renee Hawley. Rainey, sorry. Daniel Hawley.
Madam Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Daniel Hawley. I live at 11162 West Troyer Drive in Carriage Hill, and as stated, I'm opposed. And my part of the reason I'm opposed has to do with the shortfall in police officers and firefighters. And we see on here where they are funding for a percentage of a fireman or a percentage of a police officer. We already have a shortfall, and like it was stated, this is simply creating more of a shortfall. We heard from a police lieutenant last night, there are already crimes that they do not roll out for. So we're already, do we go ahead and report them or not? I don't know if the break-ins at the pool were reported. I don't know if someone came out and took a report. I haven't been able to find that out yet. That's part of my problem. The other part is this building that we're in right now has more exits than this development. It has one entrance, one exit. If people had to get out in a hurry, that's not going to be a safe thing. Part of the comprehensive plan, the 2040 comprehensive plan, in the introduction, the very last bullet point says it's to ensure public safety. There are so many ways that this completely does away with public safety. The traffic that has been mentioned, people are running through stop signs. I've seen it myself. There has been accidents. It is a nightmare out there, and it is not something that we want to exacerbate. We want to cut it down if possible. I'm not against the building. I'm not against expansion. What I am against is the multi-units that they're trying to put in. The single-level houses, I have no problem with. Also, they talked about a new fire station coming in. I don't know when that's coming in. I haven't heard. If we get rid of the shortfall on the police department and the fire department, I would probably be in agreement with having these units, but right now we don't have the capacity for them. Thank you very much.
Okay. Tammy Mack? I would like to talk. Okay.
Hi, my name is Tammy Mack, and I live at 12506 South Carriage Hill. I agree with everything that's been said tonight, but I have a different viewpoint on the traffic on Iowa. I am the first house in Carriage Hill Way. I, right now, have a hard time sleeping because of the traffic at Iowa and Middleton. I get headlights in my bedroom all night long. So now we're gonna add an entryway 50 feet from my backyard, if that, probably 25 feet, I guess. I don't know how far. So my house is gonna be lit up 24/7. I'm in agreement with bringing the existing sidewalk down behind the 3 homes that it is not behind right now. Just to give us a little bit of space. I do not want 2 homes butted up against my fence. We moved from a subdivision that had turned into rentals. And we had a neighbor in the back that had pit bull dogs. They were chewing and destroying my fence, ended up attacking one of the neighbor kids. I need space between us and this property. I know I'm sounding selfish. Another thing too, we took that lot because of the view. We're losing the view. We're losing our property value. Our taxes are gonna go up. Right now, I live right there. I go all the way down to Victoria to get out of the subdivision to go to work because there's too much traffic on Iowa. There is people with boats flying down there to get to the lake, motorcycles that go like a bat out of hell, excuse my language, but they do. We've got fire engines and paramedics heading to the lake daily. And I just don't see how if you put these 36 duplexes in, how it's gonna help the traffic. You can't put the entry on Iowa. You would have to move it to Middleton because you're putting all the little kids in danger during the school year. And then that takes away from Victoria. That's gonna make Victoria a dangerous entrance or exit because you're gonna have another one. I understand. I'll be done in just a minute. And if you put the other apartments and stuff on Iowa, we can't get out of our subdivision that way either. So please think about what we're doing here, okay? Thank you.
Okay. Edward, and Mac, okay.
You said exactly the right thing. I just wanted to.
Sharon Harris.
Good evening, I'm Sharon Harris, and I live at 1612 South Miller Way. And first of all, I'd say thank you so much for doing what you do. It can't be easy. I am opposed to the zoning map amendment. However, that does not mean that I'm opposed to growth and development for the city of Nampa. I do believe, though, that we do need affordable housing, townhouses and apartments, but with appropriate placement. I have some deep concerns about the development that is happening, especially in my neighborhood and around Nampa. First of all, continued housing development without intentional and aggressive attention to the issues that plague us is of great concern. We've heard about traffic. I go to a lot of the council meetings, and I tell you, every time development comes up, it's traffic, traffic, traffic. We need fire stations, policemen, etc. And we haven't even begun to talk about the noise level that is occurring because of increased population and building. I also have, and I suspect that once people occupy these developments, they're going to join our voice in complaining about traffic and the lack of services. My second concern is that rezoning of land that is based on a developer's desires. I believe planning and zoning has a responsibility to current residents to uphold what we were all led to believe when we purchased our property. I would hope there is a practice that reflects a deep understanding and responsibility of protecting existing homeowners, excuse me, while at the same time ensuring newcomers an environment that is not riddled with the continuing problems of traffic, safety, lack of convenient shopping, and recreational areas. Because, and then a third concern, because commercial and/or neighborhood business have not come into the southwest section of Nampa yet, doesn't mean we should trade that zoning for housing. I would love to see an aggressive approach to attracting banks, restaurants, coffee shops, grocery stores, and gas stations in the southwest section. So, thank you so much for letting me speak.
And we also have David Harris on here as opposed. Jennifer Aldos. Okay, and Michael. And then Janet Henderson, Tricia Davis, Chuck Bach, James Jensen, James Jeans, Gerald Butler, Stephen Childers, Lee Bradley, Pat Morris, Slobodan Stevanovic. Hey, okay.
So my name is Slobodan Stevanovic. I live on 2450 West Foxglove Drive. That's a Hayden community, but I'm getting the last house in Carriage Hill North. So I'm against this proposal. I would prefer maybe more stores in the area, but if it goes with any kind of housing, I kind of agree with everybody's suggestions. And by putting that pathway next to the lot 7, it is anticipated that those people will be using the amenities in the community. So because they might end up using the amenities, I would suggest to apply similar stuff that it's applied to the community where I'm moving in, like at least, I think it's 2,000 square feet and no renting to anybody. You can rent only to the sibling, but nobody else. So you cannot rent it to the cousin. And regarding the parking in the communities, those parking spots look small. So I live now in the community where I live, the lots are at least 7,000 square feet. They have like a 5 to about 10 feet between the houses, and it's already getting packed on the street. So people, there is more people, or there is more than 2 cars per household, what I noticed. So they will be parking on those spots, and those spots are probably built for a smaller cars. And here in Idaho, I noticed most of the people drive like a big pickup trucks. So there is not going to be space for that. Also, I want, for the traffic, I noticed that sometimes people don't stop on the four-way stops. And while I was visiting the community and looking at my house being built, once I stopped on the stop and like a person was coming on and like, is he going to stop? So I had to press the stop just before basically he running in front of me. So also the vandalism. So when I move in the community, my mother-in-law also, when my in-laws live in the community, I parked over by their house. In the middle of the winter, somebody throw eggs. So cleaning that when everything froze instantly, it's not fun. And also like with increased population in Nampa, I think more and more people will be coming towards the Lake Lowell. So if anything develops over there to accommodate more people to enjoy outdoors, it will increase more traffic in the area. And that would be what I have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Pauline, and I cannot, Stanu? Okay. Okay. And Sally on West Victor Drive, I can't read your last name.
She's already spoken.
Okay. Trina Nielsen, Curtis Nielsen, Cheryl Higley, Bob Higley. Cheryl wants to speak.
Good evening. I'm Cheryl Higley at 12441 South Abbott Downing Way in Carriage Hill. Dear Madam Chair and Commissioners, I am very concerned about the trend that I see happening along Middleton Road, where developments are being proposed to convert commercial plots to high-density housing. The cumulative effect of all these projects will further exacerbate the problems regarding traffic, underbuilt infrastructure, additional burden on police and fire departments, which are already understaffed by 24 and 18, which we've already heard, which jeopardizes the public safety of current Napa residents. This commercial lot is one of the few in the southwest quadrant of the city, and as per the comprehensive plan, it could help provide traffic relief by providing necessary goods and service to nearby residents, instead of having to drive much further to 12th Avenue, Karcher Road, and Garrity Boulevard, which are already heavily congested with traffic. Even though this location may not have seemed desirable to a business in the past, with the area exploding in growth, the potential for business opportunity is growing as well. Also, for applications of rezone, under the Nampa City Code 10.2.3C, an application must meet criteria before the rezone can be recommended. Even though the staff report indicates this is compatible with adjoining properties, I would respectfully disagree. The surrounding neighborhoods have 2 to 4 dwellings per acre. This project would have 10 dwellings per acre. This is not consistent with the comprehensive plan, as the density is too high. This pocket of dense development certainly appears to be a spot zone. This project will maximize the developer profits at the expense of neighboring property owners who are more invested in the community. Lastly, this rezone is not in the interest of the public, specifically with the fact that the legislature passed House Bill 389, which limits the addition to tax rolls to 90% of the value of new construction. This forces current taxpayers to subsidize new growth. Therefore, based on these reasons, I respectfully request that you deny this application for rezone. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and then Carol James. No? Oh. Pat Parker. Okay. Steve Bishop, Trish McNeils, Debbie DeBoard. Okay, Debbie.
Thank you for letting me address you tonight. There are a couple issues that...
Name and address for the record.
Oh, I'm
please.
sorry. Deborah DeBoard, 12184 South Hunters Point Drive, and I'm in the Red Hawk subdivision. There are a couple issues that were minimally talked about, and I'd like to stress those. Chances are for multi-housing, you will have investors come in, purchase the properties. They will in turn be rented out. As many know, many renters do not take care of the properties as well as homeowners do. Chances are they're going to be much younger, lots more parties, lots more density of people per square footage. There will probably be a low entry level in terms of finances to be able to purchase one of these townhomes. In the Red Hawk subdivision, the homes are going for between $500,000 and $900,000. The majority of us are retired. As retirees, we are on fixed incomes and we depend upon the value of our homes to supplement our incomes once we decide to move. We pay high HOA fees, as many other people have said, for all of the amenities that we do have. I've lived several places. This is probably one of the nicest kept communities I've ever lived in. One thing I would love to see in Nampa, and we winter in Arizona, is an over 55 community in Nampa. We have so many retirees moving in from out of state, and to be able to have a clubhouse and amenities on that 6 acres, I think would benefit Nampa tremendously. Thank you.
Okay, Belinda McBurney. Sorry.
Thank you for hearing me tonight. I know it's a hard job you have. I've been here before, only I wish I knew then what I know now. In 2018...
Your address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm at 11914 Iowa Avenue. I'm the lucky person to be surrounded by Carriage West construction for the past 2 years. I am here tonight. I voiced my opinion last night. It's still the same about public safety, number one, traffic. I've been there 16 years and I've watched the increase in traffic. Summertime, it's even worse with the boats and the recreation. So 2 weeks ago, what's drove me here and drove me to see that I am not the only one, I asked Toll Brothers, who is constructing Carriage West, to come and walk our property, my neighbor's property, to do the right thing and restore our property to the way it was before they dug up that soil from you know where. He stood in my dining room with my table covered with plant. I've covered my dining room table. I've resorted to covering furniture. I cannot keep up with the cleaning, with trying to restore it, the washing away of this dirt, the destruction to our property, our trees, our plants. He said, and I quote, "Of all the developments across this valley, you are the only one who is complaining." Now, I wrote this, normally I talk off the cuff, but I'm trying to contain my emotions here. I am pleading with you. This development affected Carriage Hill all the way down. It affected the old neighborhood that has been there, I feel the sorriest for. Also Carriage North. All this construction, yet nobody, and I didn't hear it tonight, has even witnessed the impact of the traffic that's going to come out of that massive subdivision, Carriage West. That's only going to add to it. And as the previous people have said, I watched and witnessed. I'm out there trying to clean up my yard. 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, running the stop signs. We cannot have any more traffic or endure any more than we're enduring. And I'm pleading to all of you tonight for not just myself and my 4 neighbors that have just lived through, we jokingly say it, it's not funny. We've lived through the threshold of the opposite of heaven. So I am pleading with you tonight on the behalf of everyone that lives in that neighborhood, please do not do this to them. Please do not. Thank you for your time.
Excuse me. I need some clarification on her testimony when she was talking about the soil and being dug up, and keeping.
I have lived there 16 years surrounded by farm fields. They plowed. This stuff is 100,000 times worse. They dug up something 5-6 feet down that is like a fine chalky powder. Okay. It sticks to everything.
Okay, that's what I want to make clarified. Thank you.
Okay. Jose Rios. Zandy Wright. Abra Dees. Judy Farmer.
Hi, my name's Judy Farmer, and I live at 11966 West Buteo Drive. I live in the Red Hawk area. I just want to share a story with you guys. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 32 years, and I'm also an EMT. And I just want to share with you a story, something that happened just recently, okay? I had a neighbor that had an incident, okay? And I was called over to help this neighbor that was unresponsive. So as I'm there with this neighbor that's having a crisis, I've got dispatch on the line trying to get help. And this is what they told me. They told me that there's a terrible accident on the freeway and that you've got nobody's coming. And I said, what are you saying? And they said, nobody's coming. And I just want you to know that I moved from Portland, and I have never, as an EMT or a nurse, heard anyone ever tell me from dispatch, no one's coming, you're on your own, okay? That freaked me out as a nurse and EMT, because now I'm thinking, am I gonna do CPR on my neighbor for 30 minutes by myself? Well, I want you guys to know, Nampa Fire came 28 minutes later. Canyon County paramedics showed up 30 minutes later. God forbid, you guys, I'm a nurse and EMT, that should not happen. And I look at this plot up here, okay? And these people have talked about it. We've got the lake people, we got the golf people ripping up Iowa, and now, you know, the spyglass thing that we had a meeting about before, that we're gonna put in all these townhomes and condos and everything, all those people are gonna be on Iowa. Now this one only has an exit onto Iowa. I'm like, what is happening here? You guys, you need to take into account, even from the medical perspective, that all these people moving in this area, safety-wise, you know, I have a son that works for Canyon County Paramedics, and he's like, Mom, it is out of control. The growth, we don't have enough resources. We don't have enough paramedics. I work with firefighters from Nampa and Caldwell, because I teach EMT at CWI. They're like, it's a freaking joke out there. You know, they used to run 3 or 4 calls. They're running 12 and 18 now, you guys. That is freaking unheard of. And if you don't know what that's like, write a chart for every freaking one of those calls, you guys. It is a nightmare, and it's only gonna get worse. So I'm asking you, even for your own safety, you have a heart attack, traffic, you guys. And I wanna bring up the whole Middleton thing. Okay, Summit Ridge is a subdivision on Greenhurst. Okay, those people, you know what? They're going to go down Middleton. Somebody already said we've got 3 intersections with 4-way stops. Those people aren't going to be happy being jacked on Middleton. Where are they going to go? They're going to freaking go down Iowa to try to cut across Iowa and go down Midway. You guys think about it. I understand growth is happening, but it needs to stop in this area right now for a while, because we are freaking out of control.
Okay, please. Hey, you guys have to be quiet. You do have to be quiet if I tell you you do. This is a public hearing, and you will follow the rules, or you will be asked to leave. You're not 15-year-old little teenagers out there that don't mind. I need you guys to act like adults. Okay. Then we have James Hayner. Okay, that's the last of everybody who is signed up on the sheets. Okay, we will now go to people who have not signed up who would like to speak.
My name is Clarence Mercer. I live at 11159 West Victoria Drive. I walk the park every day. I've never had a desire to walk on out to Iowa. So I don't believe extending the walkway is on through. I believe that's a little thing. The suggestion about perhaps having an exit on Victoria Drive, I exit that way every day, and looking to the left, there's a blind spot. There's a hill there. You can't see fast traffic coming. Not a good exit. I would only ask, after everything you've heard today, if you lived in our neighborhood, would you feel any different? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
If your name is Freakin', I'm gonna die.
My name's Bill Farmer. Thank you for your time and your service. I live at 11966 West Buteo. And I just looking at this, I was a 29-year veteran firefighter for Clackamas. It's a suburb of Portland, and we did not have a manpower shortage. But this is a mirror image of a subdivision we had there. And looking at this parking, I know you have professionals here, so is it okay if I just give my opinion real quick?
Yes.
Okay, so that's definitely not enough parking. What happens is all these people just start parking on the road, and then we have one lane going all the way around that entire loop right there. And sure, you added maybe 14 spaces there, but we didn't have all the health. We had green spaces right there in the middle of the island. Then if you look at 11 through 18, that's where we had one of our worst residential fires, where we could not get our fire trucks in fast enough, where we just one right after another. We lost them there. But I will tell you, that's not enough parking there. And I'm not sure if there's gonna be a gate, and then a gate the fire department has to go through on that other access. But anyhow, once they start going around that loop, everyone starts parking on the street. And we have one lane, and you have your fire engines and you have your fire truck. The fire truck is really hard to get around, and then once you get one engine in there, you can't get that fire truck in to rescue the people that are in these two-story buildings. So I'm just looking at that, and there's not enough parking for that much residential.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak?
We have people online.
We have people online as well? Okay. We'll have you go, and then we'll go to online.
My name is Amy Hayes, and I live at 12309 South Brunswick Way. I'm in the Carriage Hill subdivision, and I hope to make my thoughts conducive. You know, I agree with everything that has been said, and regarding the traffic, my concern is for my children getting to school. The entrance that comes out of Carriage Hill North, so just off of that, it's not even a sidewalk, it's a strip of asphalt that goes down to the four-way stop intersection. And I have come out of our subdivision, watching my children cross the road on their bikes. And they have had to wait almost 5 minutes to get across that road to the asphalt that leads to their school, because there is no sidewalk on our side of Iowa. And even if they were to walk down the dirt, there's no crosswalk once they get down to the stop sign on that side of the road. So my big concern is for the safety of the children that are trying to get to Owyhee Elementary from those subdivisions. That's all I wanted. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, Christy, who do we have online?
Paul Haskew.
Hi, this is Paul Haskell. Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Madam Chair and Commissioner members, my name is Paul Haskew, and I reside at 12325 Landau Way in Carriage Hill, The Ridge. I'm opposed to the current rezoning of this land and the development as proposed with these townhomes. Some of my concerns here are the lack of preservation of currently zoned land for small business and commercial use, as was previously mentioned. We only have a few lots that are currently zoned for small business, and this would take away another one of those lots that's currently zoned that way. In the current plat or plan that's being provided, I don't see any place where there's available space for children to play other than this gazebo and open space. I don't see a playground of any sort. And there's concerns from the surrounding neighborhoods that children would utilize the facilities that are paid for and insured by those communities and could cause potential problems. There's also the attaching to the privately owned and managed walking path of Carriage Hill North. It's these paths and things are funded by the HOA members. So that's each of the homeowners in those neighborhoods, and they have to pay to manage those and also maintain them. Turning left there, that close to the stop sign, there are times where traffic is backed up, 1 to 2 cars, and then you will sometimes have 10 to 11 cars, depending on what time of day they're on Iowa, just so that you can get through the Iowa-Middleton exit. And the current plan for improving that is several years off. There's also the concern of these homes turning into rentals, as there's pride in ownership. And I'm concerned about the turn to rentals in that area. I also have several questions for the developer themselves, such as what are the frontage improvements on Iowa and Middleton? Are you going to be changing that current strip of asphalt into an actual sidewalk to match the sidewalk that is, it would be west of that area in front of Carriage Hill North? Are you going to add sidewalk on Middleton? What's the access road that's currently shown going off of Middleton? It drops right into that commercial development lot. And then is this 1 or 2 commercial lots? Where do business owners and employees park along with the customers? Currently, I see there's 14 spaces in front of those business lots, but they're all marked as visitor parking. And as the gentleman said just prior to me with the fire experience, that's not enough parking.
30 seconds.
How do customers access the corner lot that's currently there? There's no access to it as currently shown. Are the units all fenced to divide each property? Are they open yards? And then what's the cost per square foot that you're targeting? I feel that the location and increased density, the current design and operating characteristics of the proposed townhouse and mixed development is incompatible with and will adversely affect the livability and appropriate development of the surrounding single-family detached home neighborhoods.
That's time. I'm sorry. Christy, do we have somebody else?
That's the only ones I see online.
Alrighty, we need the applicant back up here, please.
Are there any undecided? I didn't catch. Okay.
I stand for questions. I suspect there's a few. A couple of things that I would just like to bring up. I would like to ask my engineer to come up and respond to curb gutter and sidewalk and what we're proposing in our development. Can you do that, Pat?
Pat Caldwell, TO Engineers, 332 Broadmoor Way, Nampa. As far as the frontage improvements that was asked, we are putting in sidewalk along, so there'll be sidewalks on both Iowa and Middleton. The existing one's already on Iowa, and then we'll be extending one on Middleton so that there's a walkway on both sides. We won't be putting curb and gutter on that because of the future expansion of both those roads. The other engineering things that I've got are pretty dull. I'm not sure they really came up today, but we'll be tying into all the standard city services and maintaining our stormwater on site. I'd stand for any other questions you guys have for that, though.
What green spaces are going to be? What's going to be in that green space?
In the green space, that's kind of back to the architect here. He handles the pretty stuff. I handle the ugly stuff.
Okay.
One more engineering question. What about the corner? We've heard a lot of talk about crossing over for the children going to Waihe Elementary. Is there anything in the improvements wise that's gonna happen at that corner on your end?
We have not been asked to improve the intersection at all yet. If crosswalks were required, that's something that we could put in pretty quick and easy, to be honest with you.
Back to the green space.
Yay, green space. What was your question again? What are the
what's-
amenities?
What size is it going to be, and what are the amenities that are going to be there?
So that spot there in the center is roughly 30,000 square feet. Is that right? Something like that. So, I mean, each one of those lots is roughly 7,000 square feet. So, multiply that out. So there's 4 or 5 lots there worth of green space that are in that center section. And we have amenities that are somewhat planned. We don't know exactly what they are, we did talk about playgrounds and whatnot also, and that's very doable in that area if that were something that was asked of us. We do anticipate fencing the entire property around the perimeter, with the exception of if the path goes through, obviously we don't want to put a fence there. It was our understanding in our preliminary discussions with the city that they would like to see that path extended through, and maybe Christy can speak to that. But that was some direction that maybe we misunderstood, perhaps. So if that path, if that is an issue, I don't believe that we would be opposed to eliminating it.
Or
So,
extending it around the perimeter of the neighborhood?
I would prefer, I know there's a suggestion to run that along the, between along lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But that just increases more traffic in front of the neighbors' backyards. So I'm not sure that we would gain any privacy for the max, if I got that right, by doing something like that. So, I mean, we could look at that, but we chose this spot because it tied in with our development. We thought that was the best spot. And there was another question, are there fences around the individual lots? No, we are not proposing that. And several of the comments have come up as something about maintaining the yards. That is our development. That is what we're doing. We are creating the HOA that takes care of all the landscaping on the development. We're not relying on the individual property owners to do that. That is built into our development package.
What about I might be jumping on Madam Chair's questions list here, but what about the look of the buildings? Is it going to be compatible maybe with the architecture of the surrounding neighborhood?
That is our attempt. And since we our development is the developer, we will select only a few contractors, and we will have in the architectural control part of the development some examples of what can or can't be done in this house, or what we would like to see. And we are very aware of, we all live in neighborhoods that we all like to be somewhat harmonious. We're gonna have single color roofs. We're gonna have designs, architectural designs that mimic, that are coordinated with the surrounding homes. So that is the idea of the development. So we're not interested in just selling these lots to anybody. We want to create this environment. We want to create this vision. Jim and Gerald has made it very clear to me. In fact, we do have some designs. We kind of shared those with the neighborhood meeting as to the look of what we wanted to do. We want each unit to look as a separate dwelling unit as it is, and not 2 units, or not a single unit with 2 homes. We want them to look like 2 units.
Do you have a price point? all?
I would speak to, do we have a price point? I'm looking at Gerald to see, he's our money man. 400 plus. Per unit. So that would be, so that's kind of where we're shooting. So we're not looking for that.
And they're
lower-
1,800 square feet.
They're 18 to 1,900 square feet, depending on what amenities they may or may not like in that home. And we do have 2 car garages we're proposing, and 2 parking spaces out front. So each unit has 4 parking spaces plus our 29 or 28 visitor parking. There was a question that mentioned about the commercial development. Right now, there's 2 lots, but there would be a common access between the 2. And anything that was developed in that commercial area would have to support its own parking. We are not anticipating using the subdivision parking for that. There was a question concerning the fire department access. That would be something that the fire department would have a key to let them in and out if they needed to. So there would not be any traffic other than foot traffic that was allowed to go through there. Let's see what else. I'm sorry, I wish I could keep tabs on people destroying your pools. I wish that didn't happen. I hate that when my subdivision, when that happens, so.
Do we have any other
Yeah,
questions for
so
that?
you had a meeting with the neighbors before you came, right? Did you have a meeting after you made some changes? Because it sounded like there were quite a few of those in attendance that didn't know about the changes, and they were somewhat a little bit, maybe, I appreciate the developer making this change, and so on and so on and so on. So did you have another meeting with them after making some of these changes?
No, we did not. We took, it's kind of hard to believe, but, we really want to do a nice thing. So we eliminated 2 units based on some comments that we had. And we're not opposed to making a couple of other changes if that's what we want, because we want to be good neighbors.
So there was a thought that had come up about maybe eliminating those units in the whole center. Would that be something that would be entertainable?
We would certainly take a look at that, but, there are costs associated with the development that we would need to, we don't go in here, we're not doing this to break even. It's what development does, and nobody does it. We're not going to be in business very long if we do that. So yes, there would be a monetary cost to that, and we'd have to see.
Any other questions for the applicant?
I think I got
Just one, I think you mentioned fencing, but what about perimeter fencing?
Currently there is a fence along Victoria, and there is a vinyl type fence mostly along the adjoining property where the path is. And we would continue to do that. We would close that loop. So all of those lots along the west side there would have a fence that would be appropriate, or would be just the same as what's out there right now. And thank you, Gerald. And also, we are proposing a fence along Middleton and Iowa also.
Is that like a vinyl fence or a privacy fence, or what
It's,
do you?
I'm not sure that we have that totally figured out. But it would most likely be a vinyl fence. I don't know if it would be a fully screenable type or not. But that's an amenity that we want too. We want to help create a backyard for our residents also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We get Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel. You didn't have to go pick up sign-up sheets. Now you got to get up and.
Need to be called up.
Madam Chair, Commissioners,
I'll just kind of go through the list that I have, and if I miss anything, please let me know. First of all, the question was, what do impact fees go for? On the traffic side of things, there is a list of the impact fee projects that go into that capital improvement plan for those impact fees. Middleton and Iowa and Middleton and Lake Lowell are not currently on that list, though they are on our longer term plans. The discussion of impact fees for other police, fire, parks, their impact fees go for capital needs. So they fund fire trucks, they fund construction of fire stations, police stations, police cars, things of that nature. It's incumbent upon City Council to allocate funds for people. And that I know as they are discussing budgets this year, they are allocating for additional police. And then obviously with the change in the fire district, those decisions would be made by the fire district rather than the City Council going forward. Let's see, the discussion of the access points and their proximity to the intersection, we have reviewed those and they are compliant with the city standards. We look at those from an access and safety standpoint, and those access points are compliant with our standards. The question of the number of units and the number of access points, it does comply with the emergency access. It does comply with the fire code and the requirements of the access for that number of units.
Daniel, sorry, Commissioner Kirkman, can I just ask a quick
Oh,
question?
I'm sorry. I was like, who's talking?
Can you clarify, sorry, can you clarify the access out onto Middleton and how that works with that emergency access that you were just talking about?
So can you highlight the point between the road and the commercial? No, where that fire department access only. So that portion there, the fire department, the way they like to look at those is bollards with a chain and emergency only. So the fire department can come, cut the chain, drive through if they need to. And so that access on Middleton Road would serve as the commercial site access for whatever was developed there in the future, with a drive aisle through there to allow for emergency access for police, fire, emergency services, if for some reason the other access were blocked. And that is compliant with the codes that we have within the city and in the fire department.
So Iowa's the only access to
So
the housing?
Iowa will be the only access in non-emergency situations, yes.
So that was my question also. Why not have an access off of Victoria?
So let me pull up something. Sorry, got to get to the right spot here. So there is a common area lot owned by the Carriage Hills HOA between the public right-of-way and there. If that were desirable and the Carriage Hills people were interested in that, that would be something that the developer would have to negotiate. There's not any actual direct connection to that public right-of-way that would allow that to happen without some property changing hands.
Makes sense, thank you.
And then the discussion on the need for Middleton and Iowa to be widened to allow for additional traffic. A two-lane road handles a significant amount of traffic as long as the intersections can move it through. Looking at the traffic volumes that I'm able to see on those roads, they would not warrant widening at this point. The city is currently focused on mainly intersection projects. When the city initially put into effect our traffic impact fees, they did not fully adopt the recommended amount because impact fees per state code are not allowed to correct existing deficiencies. So impact fees are allowed to pay for growth-related things, but they can't fix problems that were there before the growth happened. And so the city has to then come up out of our roadway funds and make up the difference between what that impact fee pays and what the total project costs are. A couple years ago, we were able to figure out, and council dedicated more funding to the street side so that we could increase that impact fee and collect the full amount that we had recommended previously, and our impact fees went up in the street side 600%. And so the properties that will go in there will pay that impact fee and go to improving those intersections identified in the capital improvement plan that are due to growth. And at some point in the future, when Middleton and Iowa and Lake Lowell and Iowa, or Lake Lowell and Middleton, and Iowa and Middleton, sorry, are raised to the top of that impact fee list, other developments that are coming in at that time will be paying those fees that will then improve those intersections as well. And I think they addressed the sidewalk issue. There is with our Middleton Road widening project last year, we did install a crosswalk on the north leg of that intersection. And so there is an existing crosswalk at that location there as well.
What about the path? Is that
Which path?
the path or walking path that?
Between the two? It's generally our practice that if someone has stubbed a street, a walking path, or something to the edge of their property, we recommend that it be connected to, though it's certainly not where it's not a public street, where it's a private pathway, it is certainly not something that we would require to happen. And so if it's the will of the Carriage Hills people and the commission that not be connected, that would not be something that staff would require to happen.
I think that's clear.
Any other questions for Daniel?
I just have a question. I've always had this question. Because of the traffic, the pedestrian, the crosswalks, all that, has NAMPA ever looked into or considered those above-road crosswalks that go above the road?
How much do you want your taxes
No.
to go up?
I mean, having maybe develop as a development type of.
Those, generally speaking, are millions of dollars. They are not financially feasible, and that is not something the city would, in a situation like this, it is not something that the city would find as something we would want to take on the maintenance of either.
Thank you for that answer.
Thank you, Daniel.
Okay.
Question for Christie.
Christie?
Yes. Christie, there've been a lot of comments tonight about commercial lots being taken up and they need more commercial lots. But yet down the road at Lake Lowell and Middleton, there's that commercial subdivision that is virtually empty. There's a dentist's office, a daycare, and a gymnasium, and something else is going in there now. Is there anything coming up in there that you know of that maybe that's going to fill that thing up? I mean, it seems like we got plenty of commercial space that is going unused now. We didn't really need any more. Am I correct or not?
Commissioner Kehoe, the only ones that I'm aware of are the ones that have come before design review in Fall River West. We've seen kind of a strip center with multiple tenant spaces in it that have come before design review, but I haven't seen any building permits. So they've indicated to me that, you know, they don't really have any tenants to put in them, so they're not in a big rush to build them. And then south of that, they did multiple kind of what they call flex buildings that have some retail or some office space with some overhead kind of warehouse space that different types of tenants could go into. So you could have contractors or.
We're not hurting for commercial space in that area. At this point.
They're not in a rush to build anything, so I don't think they have the tenants to go in them, but I'm making an assumption.
Thank you.
I have one question I just found on here in my notes for the developer, for the applicant. And this, and thank you for jumping back up here.
No
again.
worries.
But this came from somebody who was testifying, the possibility of a 55 and older community. Has that been considered?
There are a number of rules and regulations that restrict the ability to do that. We used to be able to come with a senior-only development. That is not the case anymore. We could restrict a certain portion of our development to that age group, but not the entire development. So, much to people's dismay, we cannot do that. And if we could, I'm sure there would be a lot of them. But by law, we are not allowed to do that.
Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to close public hearing. Okay. Motion for closed public hearing by Matthew, seconded by Brett. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed.
Oh, we'll make one right.
We're going to make a decision right now.
Which.
We're deliberating in our
It'll be
minds.
it's a recommendation to city council, right? So
Yeah.
we recommend to approve or deny. That still goes on to city council. They have a public hearing and the whole process happens again. They're the deciding factor on whether it happens or doesn't happen. It's not
Preliminary plat
it, right. Plat, which I think this is more of a land use concern than a
Yeah.
subdivision plat concern.
What do you guys think?
I'm inclined to leave it as is, because I know we have a comprehensive master plan, and that's the key word, is plan, and plans can change. That's why we have these hearings, why people, developers and so on come to us and the city council to make those changes, and if it fits within certain parameters, then we can recommend approval. There's a lot of residential out there and not a whole lot of commercial. But there's not a whole lot of, there is some space for commercial, but there's just not a lot of commercial going out there. And I don't know what the reason is for that. I don't know if they just want to leave that area alone. Maybe they're scared of all the traffic out there too. We all are. But we have that in the plan, and I'm inclined to keep it at that point, keep it community business. I think at some point in the future, there's going to be a need for that. I listening to everybody's public hearing, and believe me, I listen, I make notes, and I want to know more. And I wish we could ask questions and open a dialogue with those that are testifying. But there's reasons. I wonder, those who moved out there to Carriage Hill, and there's like 17, 18 Carriage Hill neighborhoods now, it seems like out there. There's always another one going up. But there's growth there too. And there's traffic there too before these townhomes, if they were approved, were to go in. There's always going to be traffic. There's always going to be the safety issue. There's always going to be public safety concerns. But you folks moved out there to get away from the traffic, probably. And in the meantime, you've created your own traffic problem because there's so many of you that moved out to that area. It happens all over the city. I am concerned about the public safety aspect of it, the lack of response time for the fire department. That is a huge concern. I'm concerned about the rise in crime, not just in this area, but all over the county, or all over the, well, county too, but all over the city, and the response time to that. We have issues like that where I live, in my area. I think adding more of this, I'm not opposed to the townhomes. And I'm, you know, the whole renting and rental and all that stuff does not, that's not a concern to me either. Because people who live in Carriage Hill, you could turn around and rent your homes too. I mean, it doesn't, I mean, everybody can rent or whatever you want to do with your property within parameters that might be set. I get you guys have HOAs and all that kind of stuff. So the townhomes are nice because they are purchased, they own that home, so that whole aspect doesn't really concern me. But it is the increase in pedestrian traffic, the kids, you know, I can't remember her name that talked about the kids going to Waihi School and watching them try to cross the street. That's huge with me. That really is huge. And so when we listen to all of your testimony, that's what I take into account is, first of all, you guys showing up. I love it. I love having the citizens be part of this process because it affects you. So I'm inclined to stop talking and deny this application for rezone.
Is that going to be a motion?
No, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just throwing it through the glass to the other echo chambers on the bench.
Well, Jeff, I mean, I've always said, I feel like my part here on this commission is to be an advocate for the citizens. And I think they're speaking pretty loud and clear that this is not something that they want to see in their neighborhood. So I would agree with you if you wanted to make the motion.
Just because I spoke first doesn't mean I get to make the motion.
Take the initiative.
You did a great job. I'm with you. You said everything I would have said. I think it needs to stay the way it is, and it just doesn't fit. I'm for townhomes too, and a different option for people to buy and get started in the home ownership process. But you got to look at what's already there, and to put these townhomes against those huge lots in Carriage Hills, it's not compatible to me, and it's just not a good flow from transition from what's there to this. You're just jumping from big homes to townhomes on little lots, and it's not compatible, and it just doesn't fit for what I think is already there and what should continue to flow, and it should just stay the way it is.
Well, it's not going to stay the way it is, that's for sure.
No, I mean, but I appreciate everybody being here and testifying and the process and all that. I'm kind of on the other side of this in my mind, just from the fact that it's been what it is for so long, and the commercial space that's out there that hasn't really done anything, which tells me the market isn't there for a BC use, and I think the developer's done a pretty good job of laying out the project. I think it's a good transition to what's there. It's less dense than it could be, I think, with a different proposal, and it's going to provide a fair amount of impact fees, if I'm doing the math right, to support public safety, roads, and help us move toward accomplishing our capital improvement plan. So, you know, I'm on the other side of it, and I think it's a good project.
One of the things that I think about is, one of the things I learned about was called the urban transect, right? Where you transition from dense to less dense. And you think about, one of the ladies that was here talked about her house right there on that road. And these what are gonna go in there now are gonna be right there on that corner. And so, to me, it makes sense that you would transition, if they've got commercial there, then there's gotta be something that transitions between commercial and, low-density residential. And so you kind of move in density as you go to the single-family residences. And this, to me, looks like the perfect thing for that, right? Because it is a little more dense, but it's not so dense that what could be there. And we hear from the developer that he's talking about a price point that's $400,000 per unit. That's not starter homes. This is a high-end product that's gonna go in there, a little more dense, albeit. And so for me, I'm with you, Ron. I think that it is a good transition from the commercial corner there to the, lower density residential.
We talk about smart growth though a little bit in this, and I think this is a great location to kind of incorporate some of those smart growth principles. And I'm looking at is it Fall River, right there on Midland, that commercial strip, which butts up right against single-family homes. And so there really is no transition between that commercial, and it's a beautiful area too, and I think it's well done. That's what I'm looking at as far as this out there by Carriage Hill, whether it's on this corner or down the road a little bit or wherever. But looking at smart growth is, if you don't have some commercial out there, whenever that might come, you're gonna continue to have, well, I don't know how many are out there now, 50,000 people in all the Carriage Hills that are continuously driving to other parts of the city. And that's not smart growth. I mean, those are not smart growth principles. And so I do like the idea of keeping that in a commercial zone for whatever down the road might develop there as commercial. And I think that this lot, I think we're okay with holding on to that piece of property as commercial rather than turning it into residential just because it's been sitting there for so long. At some point, commercial will come. My opinion, though, respectfully.
Well, and with that said, that portion you were talking about that you like, how many years has it sat there? And there's still a lot of available spots in that location, so.
There's about 35,000 feet of ground on the corner there that could take 10 to 12,000 feet of commercial space, whatever it is. So I'm going to take a stab at a motion, unless we want to discuss further.
No.
All right, we'll make the motion that we recommend to City Council approval of the zoning map amendment from BC Community Business to BC and RD for Stevens Place subdivision at 0 Iowa Avenue for 36 single-family, 0 lot line attached townhome lots on 3.6 acres, 2 commercial lots on 0.82 acres, and 5 common lots on 0.6 acres for Dana Kaufman representing Blackhawk Investments Idaho LLC with all conditions of staff.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the zoning map amendment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Split.
Might need to do a roll call.
Okay, we're going to do a roll call vote. Matt?
Aye.
Brett?
Aye.
Ron?
Aye.
Tom?
No.
Steve?
No.
Jeff?
No.
Michelle? Aye. 4-3.
You got one more motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make the motion that we approve the preliminary plat for Stevens Place subdivision for Dana Kaufman representing Blackhawk Investments Idaho LLC with all conditions.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the preliminary plat. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No.
Same 4-3 split. Okay, this will go to city council. You guys can go and testify there, and city council can do whatever they're gonna do. Thank you. We're gonna take a 5-minute break and come back to the final one.
people showed up, and we had to sign in on a separate sheet.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, that's a short list. Me too. We might get out of here by 11.
We're waiting for one commissioner to get back here, and then we'll be good to go.
What are we missing? Oh.
Well, two of these people were on the other one that were against. Yeah, because they are signed the wrong sheet. Okay, now we're on to public hearing item number 5. Conditional use permit for multifamily housing in a BC zoning district. Do we have the applicant here? I hope.
Didn't you just testify against the other one?
No, I sure didn't. That was a lot of work, though.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, my name's Jason Ramsey. My address is 10483 Purple Sage Road, Middleton, Idaho. So we built the first phase of the Farmstead Apartments that are located on Cherry Lane in Midland. They're 3-story multifamily apartments with 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units. They have attached garages. They're a very nice product. They've filled up and I think filled a great need in our community right now. With this new phase, we are proposing 100 additional units. There's 3 20-unit buildings and 3 10-unit buildings. There'll be 93, so it'll be attached parking will have 48 attached spaces on the 20-unit buildings and 24 attached spaces on the 10-unit buildings that are access to the units. So they're a really nice product. Amenities inside the project already include a pool, pergolas, a 5,000 square foot clubhouse with amenities inside the clubhouse, a workout facility that the tenants use and enjoy. With this new phase, we're proposing a little bit less density than the first phase at 16 units per acre. We will provide a dog park, a playground, a pergola area with a picnic area in this new phase to add to the open space and open feel of the community, allow the tenants a little bit more area for their recreation and on-site use. With that, that's all I have.
Okay. See what Parker has to say now. Got to move to the front of the room.
Yeah, I've had it easy so far tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The action requested tonight is a conditional use permit for multifamily housing in a BC zoning district. This is for the second phase of Farmstead Apartments for 100 apartment units. It is currently zoned BC. It's designated commercial in the comprehensive plan. The lot is, I believe the portion that they'll be building on is 6 acres, but the entire lot is larger than that. The first phase, for your reference, consisted of 260 units. Surrounding land uses to the north in the county, there's a single-family home, RS 8.5, and that is Steel Falls subdivision, and BCRP, that is the recently approved Astaire subdivision. To the south is BC, and that's Treasure Valley Marketplace. To the east is HC, that is St. Luke's Medical Center. To the west is the first phase of Farmstead, as well as county ag land. All public utilities are available. As far as public services, the nearest fire station is 2.8 miles away. Response time of 6 minutes. This would increase demand firefighters by 0.3. Closest police department is just over 4 miles away. The reporting district receives 1,582 calls annually. This would increase demand by 0.44 officers and 0.15 staff. As far as the police, there were some comments from the public about a recent incident, and I've received information regarding that, which we can cover if requested.
I was gonna ask you, so you can do it now, you can do it later.
Okay, let's do it now then. So this is, I sent an email to Lieutenant Eric Skoglund about the shooting incident that occurred May 30th. He stated that there was an individual who fired some gunshots from a balcony into the ground below. Police responded immediately and quickly identified the individual involved. He said to his knowledge, no shots were fired at the adjoining property or Steel Falls across the roadway. The individual involved in this incident is not a resident of the apartment, but was visiting. The people living at the apartment were cooperative with law enforcement. There were some other statistics relating to violent crimes he stated, but they weren't among the 10 highest calls for the services in the area. He also stated regarding the traffic concerns, that the police would make suggestions to follow the traffic impact study that would be required for the additional development. So hopefully that answers some of your questions on that concern. Covering history, the property was annexed 2008, zoned ag with the development agreement. In 2017, it was a rezone from ag to BC was denied by City Council. Later that year, zoning amendment from ag to BC was approved with the development agreement that is currently in place. 2018, CUP for 260 units was approved. That's the first phase, and an extension was approved in 2019 for that development. 2019 design review was completed. This is the conditions of that development agreement. It's mostly involving the development being utilities, frontage improvements, and this is all part of the conditions. It's in the staff report. If you want further details, we can discuss that. This is the site plan for the development. As I stated before, they're only developing 6 acres of the parcel, just a strip next to the current phase. As far as conditional use permits, apartments do require CUPs, hence why we're here tonight. The conclusions of law, which were covered earlier tonight, needs to be compatible with the adjoining area, provide convenient functional living, shopping, working environment, enhance the successful operation of the surrounding area, and provide an essential service. Engineering division, one thing to highlight from their comments, the full traffic impact study will be required for the development. And this study will include the traffic contributions from the prior phase of the apartment development. So it will include the entire farmstead apartments. The building department with their regular comments, and fire department submitted a letter that is pretty standard. Compass sent in some statistics. Housing within a mile is 820, jobs within a mile, 4,230. So there's the ratio is 5.1 jobs to housing. Farmland within a mile is 808 acres. Nearest public park, 2.3 miles. Grocery store, 1.7. Bus stop, 0.7. The schools would be East Canyon Elementary, which is 2.7 miles away, Sage Valley Middle School, 1.9 miles, and Ridgeview High School, which is 3.6 miles. Comments in opposition were received. Some of their concerns can be summed up. Traffic, there's concerns about the amount of traffic and the speed of that traffic. Inadequate amount of parking spaces, increasing crime, development needs to slow down. The second phase was not mentioned by the developer when the first phase was going through public hearings. There's concerns about parking on the street. Apartments are not the highest and best use for the property. There were 27 signatures in support of the development, and those were included in your, sent to you after the staff report was done. The parking on the street has been, there have been no parking signs placed there, so that's no longer a concern. As I stated before, it's designated commercial and comp plan. The proposed development includes 100 units on 6 acres, and that's 16.67 units an acre. Since this isn't medium density or any residential designation, there isn't a limitation on the gross density. Land uses, aside from the single-family residential to the north, the surrounding land uses all support multifamily housing with the Treasure Valley Marketplace to the south, as well as retail work centers nearby. Additional residential and commercial development has been approved for the northwest corner of Cherry Lane in Midland. That's the Astaire subdivision. Addition of multifamily housing would be in the interest of the public, as long as it has easy access to transportation work centers. Environmental, additional traffic will be produced with the development. Traffic impact study will be required. Parking for the existing farmstead apartments meets the requirements of Nampa City Code. The proposed development includes 300 spaces, which meets that requirement. A condition has been included for the frontage improvements of this development. The development will be subject to BC zoning standards, including design review. I'm not sure if the previous design review would cover it or not, but that's something we can look at. The recommended conditions, which are included in your staff report, and here's a potential motion for you, and I will stand for any questions.
I have questions for Daniel, if I could borrow him.
Always. Do you want to do public testimony before questions? Or?
Well, they might want to hear what I'm going to ask you. That's why I'm asking it now. Milton Road has just been completed, right? And I assume part of that was besides the railroad, the excess traffic can go west and then south to get onto the boulevard.
That there is that traffic pattern available again with the Middleton overpass being available again. One thing that
from these apartments to that road, then you have to come back up on the boulevard again to get back to.
if they were heading to the freeway, that wouldn't make a logical.
No, not the freeway.
But if they're just heading, south into town, that would be an option for them. Regarding the speeds, the city only controls a small portion of that road. We have had some discussions with the Nampa Highway District about doing a speed study there to potentially reduce the speed limit on that. They did not want to do that without speed counts that were not available to be accurate until the Middleton overpass was open, and I have not heard whether they have begun collection on that yet or not. But that's certainly something we can follow up with them and work with them on having that speed study done to look at what if the speed limit warrants changing.
So gut feeling, do you think that's gonna help to eliminate some of that? I mean, that's one of the biggest problems we got in this whole city right now is right there on Carter Road.
So we are currently working with a consultant to look at that corridor and specifically the intersection of Marketplace and Midland Boulevard, which is where the majority of the congestion is in that area right now. And so we are actively working with them on design alternatives that can help improve the level of service of that intersection. This developer will be required to update his existing traffic study to include these new units to determine whether, with the addition of these, he triggers any additional improvements that are needed. But that is not something that is required for the conditional use permit discussion. That would be something that, if this is granted, he would undertake, and it would be a part of the building permit review for the site.
So there could be relief coming up down the road.
We are certainly actively working on options there. The development may trigger other improvements that they are required to undertake, that not just what the city is doing.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to public hearing. For the proposal, have Mike Timson? Okay, so, and then Mike, you're against as well? Okay. All right, come on up.
Thank you for waiting.
You probably know all the rules, so I'll.
Mike Timpson, 10469 Dunlap Drive, in Steel Falls. You know, these apartments were kind of slipped in at the last instant there. To us, it appeared at the original apartments that went in place. So the 260 units that are there, you know, it's changed the traffic significantly at this point, obviously. 95 homes roughly in our subdivision across the street, 260, there's a whole lot more traffic there. There's already been accidents, so safety issues is really kind of the highest, you know, thing in my mind at least. The parking is totally inadequate. I don't know where their numbers are coming from, but it's not that I don't come up with the same numbers that they have. So I would like, you know, for the newest proposal, they've stated a couple of different things in there, and I've heard different numbers, so I'm going to say what was in print was 152 plus 60 garage spaces plus 60 visitor spaces, and yet I count 92 spaces in their drawing. If they have 60 garage spaces, you know, it's hard to tell, and where the 60 visitor spaces are, I presume, are outside the garage. So, you know, and from what I understand in the code, it's supposed to be 2 parking spaces per unit, which, depending on which numbers you use, they either just barely meet or don't meet. And what's happened is a lot of the parking that was occurring out there when they put up the no parking signs helped on one side, but the other side, we were told, is county, and the city couldn't do anything about putting signs up there. So there's still parking going along on Cherry Lane on the west side of that entrance, besides other places which someone else may address. So, you know, between the parking that's occurring there just needs more parking spaces is one of the things that would probably help with that. The other thing is one of the earliest proposals that we saw long before this came in place had the multiple lanes coming back from Midland back on Cherry Lane there. Right now, they kind of come back about halfway. In this incremental creep, you know, we were told those wouldn't be done until they were developing that corner. Well, they're incrementally creeping towards the corner. They're going to have all their development in before they do anything with that. So that might be one of the things that could be done out of this traffic study, et cetera. But that's, you know, something that would help, either a center turn lane or some way to get there. You know, we've got a stop sign on their side, a stop sign on our side right now. But if people aren't taking turns, you've got traffic at high speeds coming from either direction at this point. It's very difficult to merge in there and turn. With all the traffic coming out of there, it's much more difficult for anybody coming across and turning. The other thing is probably just the amenities across the front, and I don't know exactly it sounds like there's something planned there as to what they're going to do to improve that. You know, right now, it's muddy across there. Well, why isn't there a curb? Why don't they do improvements like they've done in front of the hospital there with some of their plantings and curbs there? So those are the main things at this point, just safety issues, et cetera. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, mic number 2.
Mike Welschnig, 17298 Steel Creek Drive. On the proposal for the extra 100 units that they want to put in, they do have a pool in the facility that they're doing now. That pool is good for 400 people. I think it's inadequate for there. Sunday morning, I counted, there's 24 people are parking in the Marketplace parking lot. What is the developer going to do when the Marketplace parking lot says there's no more 24-hour parking on that there? The landscaping is, if you look at what the hospital did on that side over there with the curbing, there's no correlation at all with what they've done with theirs at all. And I think that the planning department needs to look at that too. We should be equal to it. It should look really nice on it like the hospital did there. They need definitely more green space for the kids to play in there, and walking paths to go along with it. We need, in that area there, we don't need 100 more apartments. We need professional buildings to tie in with the hospital. We do not have any dentistry in that office. People who, they are planning down the road a ways to put a senior citizen, assisted living. Those people have no way to go. There's no professional buildings at all planned in that area. And we need to go ahead, instead of putting more apartments there, we need to put some professional buildings so we can go ahead and keep the doctors and dentists in the Napa area instead of having us to go out of the Napa area for professional services. I would like to ask the developer, if this does go through, is where the workers going to park their cars. The last time that they were there, they were up and down Cherry Street from the beginning of Midland all the way practically back down to Middleton, parking their cars there for workers. And they, instead of creating a parking spot in the field that they have there, they had everybody park on the road there, which turns, when you got 50-mile-an-hour speed limit going through there, you're going to definitely have a problem there with safety. Thank you.
And then Robert Silva.
Robert Silva, 17287 Steel Creek. I think I testified in front of you guys about our last subdivision, talking about the traffic study here, and that's the biggest issue we have here. The only reason they didn't put a turn lane in on the access now is because they did a traffic study. Traffic study was obviously inadequate, or, you know, I just want to make sure that whatever traffic study we do, we have it so it makes some sense, because right now there's, you go down further down Cherry Lane, they put 40 houses in on Cherry Lane. There's entryway. Further down Cherry Lane on Eustic, same deal. They put a little subdivision in, and they have to have an access road on into the main road. Didn't happen here. Where is this going to enter? How are they going to enter our subdivision, Cherry Lane? I really can't tell by that. Are they going to have another entrance onto Cherry, or the same one? So it's just going to be the same exit that you have now then? Okay. There again, it's just it's a safety issue with, you know, the kids walking across the street, the speed limit. Hopefully the traffic study will fix that. Thank you.
Anybody else here that would like to testify? Okay, do you want to come back up and answer some questions? Parking seems to be.
Yeah, so this development initially filled up at an unprecedented rate. And so as fast as the buildings were, as fast as we turned them over, they were full. And so it was extremely difficult to park all the construction staff all of the tenants, especially towards the end of the project. We imposed through the property management a system that works now. I drive by the property daily, and the parking is much improved. Occasionally, there's one car that does park on the west side of the entrance on Cherry Lane, but their guest parking, it's permitted parking. So in the initial phase, we had five, it's actually 605 according to the architect, which is 2.26 per unit parking. On this proposed development, we have 300 spaces. That's why we have 6 acres of property to add additional green space and additional parking to accommodate some of those concerns. As far as people parking where they're not supposed to, I mean, more than likely they're visitors because it is permitted parking. So we're trying to control where people park, how many park in the development. And it's alleviated the problem significantly. There were problems during the construction phase, especially at the end when we were 90% full and we were building carports, and there was nowhere for the tenants to park during that time. There was a bottleneck. My mass grading contractor did build a large gravel strip up against Marketplace Avenue, which we did use for construction, staging, and parking. There was a lot of construction that went on in a very short period of time. If you look at the timeline, we started construction in May. The apartments were fully occupied by October the following year. So within 18 months, these units were completely full. So logistically, yeah, there was there was some hard times, absolutely. But we believe with what we're proposing now, it'll be more than adequate. And even now, you can drive through on the weekend when most of the tenants are home, and the parking's more than adequate right now. So professional buildings, we do have professional buildings slated on the corner of Cherry and Midland and as part of the Stair subdivision. That corner, the hard corner, is slated for hopefully what we would see as medical office at some future point. The assisted living was done. We did submit for that. There was a building permit issued. Because of COVID, we did not move forward on that project. It's a beautiful facility. Hopefully it will be built. It'd be a great addition to the community. But also in front of these apartments, it's planned to be retail, and hopefully when that time comes, there'll be tenants who will, the land's been for sale for many years now. We haven't had any takers quite yet. We had a Maverick, but we didn't feel like that was a great use of that space. Anyways, but we're looking for, obviously, tenants, dentists, medical support staff to go in that area. So there is some of that planned. Yeah, and we don't have curb and gutter along Cherry Lane because that's a future widening project. We did pay a significant amount in impact fees, close to $1 million for the initial set of apartments. We would have done it, but that wasn't in our scope to do. We paid the impact fees. The city then assigns the work to be done and priority according to their plans. So
there's no landscaping along Cherry
there
Lane?
is. There is nice landscaping. There's no curb and gutter, which I think they're referring to, which we can't do because that street's slated to be widened. So we deeded the right-of-way to City of Nampa for that future expansion. So it's not because we're not wanting to do a good job or how did we get away with it, because I've heard those comments from friends and relatives. It's a small community, and it's like, well, no, we did our part. We did the best we could to make the development nice. But certainly, the landscaping's there. It's hard to control everybody, and some people pull off and they get into your landscaping, and we go back and we repair it. I'm there daily, twice a day. I'm very involved, and so we want it to look nice. Anyways, so hopefully that answers some of those questions and concerns.
What about additional green space? Just that dog park, is that the only additional?
No, there's additional green space. So if you look at the way it's laid out, we have the dog park, which is would be the north side. And then about halfway down, there's already a big common space where you can see the playground equipment. And we're proposing a pergola and picnic area in that green space. That'll be a really nice green space for the tenants. In addition, the way those units, we laid them out, there's a nice green space that's been created because the units have yard behind them with the parking on the east side of the project, which allows for a lot more green space than there is currently. It will feel like there's a lot more. And the density is 16 per acre versus 20 on the initial development, so there is naturally just more open green space.
Where are the garages?
The garages are underneath they're on the first story of the apartments. So I don't know if you've driven by there, but they're actually a very nice product. They look really nice and they function really well. Most of the units are accessible via the garage, which is really nice for the tenants. And then there are some leasable garages that aren't connected to tenant space as well. There's 4 for a 20-unit building and 2 for a 10-unit building that are rentable to other tenants within those buildings.
And they're one car.
One-car garages, yep. So the way we like to see the parking is we have the garage parking, tandem parking, and then open space parking, and then the covered carport parking.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Where's the access point off of Midland, or is there one?
There's no access
Okay.
off Midland.
So it's just off of Marketplace?
Yep,
Road down there,
Marketplace and
that's
Cherry
it.
Lane are the 2 access points currently.
That's it. Had an easy one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Okay, it's moved and second to close public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed.
Looking at these conclusions of law in here, this fits with all of those, except for maybe the functionality of the traffic, the non-functionality of the traffic. But, it fits the design, the location, the bulk, it's next to commercial, it's, I think it's a good fit, out of respect for Steel Falls, of course, in that corner there. So I'm gonna go, if there's no further discussion, I don't wanna step on anyone's.
I think the
Okay.
jobs to housing numbers that he showed in his presentation, that jumps out at you. So
Yeah, it was. That was
I
huge.
think it's a great fit.
So I'm going to make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for multifamily housing in a BC Community Business Zoning District for an additional 6-acre portion of a parcel currently addressed as 0 Cherry Lane for Farmstead Apartments Phase 2 for 100 apartment units for a gross net density of 16 units per acre for Jason Ramsey, who is representing Derek Pardo with all conditions of staff and conclusions of law.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the conditional use permit. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? One opposed. Okay. Thank you very much.